Blondie, Heart of Glass. Oh, that's him. When that music starts, that's him in the door. Gregory, good morning to you.
That's the warning, boy.
Yeah, boy. I feel like I'm on a US talk show here with Gregory Hughes. I'm the warm-up guy.
Saturday Night Live with Lee Good.
Yeah, Tuesday morning live with Gregory Hughes. Yes.
I normally take this Tuesday off.
Why do you do that?
I don't know, just to extend the weekend.
Well, you were busy. You did some dodgy driving in them dodging cars. Bumping cars. We called them. What did you call them as a kid growing up? We called them bumping cars.
I call them bumper cars.
Oh, we called them bumping. Bumping the cars.
I heard someone call them bumpy cars yesterday.
Yeah, you wouldn't pass the driving test on them anyway, would you?
Oh no, you can fairly.
Hell start on an old bumping car.
You can do the donuts on them anyway.
Yeah. Well, can you?
Yeah.
Who was it? I just caught your wee video up there that was up. Who was in beside you?
No one.
Yeah, on your own.
Yeah.
You had the big smile on your face. Wasn't it like we're big Waynes at heart, aren't we?
Well, it's that thing you sort of shove your backside forwed to try and really bang into someone. It can get kind of violent.
And you kind of push on with it.
But it was like 11:30 at night. So
yeah. That was good crack, isn't it?
It is good crack. What a weekend around the county, though. I've never seen rain like Saturday and Sunday. It was or was it Sunday into Monday?
Can't remember.
Never seen rain like it before, but I've never seen crowds around the county like before either. So much going on. Like,
I think
unbelievable.
Festivals and that have taken a revival.
Yeah.
Over this last year and so.
Perhaps,
what do you think?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. Do you know at one
I
time
don't know,
they were
it did. Now you say it, I think Downing's was as busy as it's ever been, according to people. The Married from Dunlow, they had a fantastic week.
And Rathmullen Regatta and stuff as well.
Rathmullen, and then there's other shows that are beginning this week as well, isn't it?
So and all
lots of stuff to do.
It's nice to see, isn't it? But we're all social creatures. We need to have the banter.
The weather would be nice, though.
But fingers crossed. You read that weather forecast later, and you go, "Where's that weather? Do you know we don't want it here?"
No, I'm really starting to lose faith in the weather forecast.
Because I was like, I'm reading it, and I don't believe this. What am I doing? Like, what am I reading it for?
And I heard the national weather forecast, Lee, and it was different to the local weather forecast. The national weather forecast is quite nice and favourable, but the local one, it's like go to bed,
make it up.
Is how it sounds. Anyway, you need a longer bed.
All right, okay, Daddy.
Well, you need to get your timing right. Where are you going? Yet you have a minute to fill. Tell me what you did.
What did I do? I didn't cut grass. I'm paying my son Lee. I was pulled up because this lady, Mary Maguire, she says, "You're always chatting about you're doing the grass at the weekend. It's actually Wheelie that cuts the grass, but I'm paying him $5.
Oh,
$5 a pop.
So come here,
he cut the grass twice. He's keen to cut the grass.
You got rumbled. So you were saying you were doing it, but someone realised they didn't sound information.
Yeah, so I had to be more truthful. You
were using child labour.
Yeah, $5 a pop. And then I have to buy the petrol for the machine. Do you know what I was saying?
How big's the amount of grass he's cutting?
That's not too big. But the best of it, you know what he's cutting it with?
Your lawnmower?
No, we invested in a big lawnmower last year from Pat McConnell, right? Good guy he is, right? He's a mechanic, right?
Discount.
He sold the lawnmower to Wee Lee, right? Tractor lawnmower.
Oh my word.
Fine machine, right? For €50.
Oh my God.
She's a wicked machine.
He did well.
We did well.
I know.
And she's still cutting.
Okay, Leo, have a good one. See you
bye.
Tomorrow, which is Wednesday, by the way.
Lovely.
Just in case you're not aware. All right, it is the 9 till noon show. It's a busy one as always. Let's get a news update first. It's over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Police in Belfast have come under attack following another night of disorder. Riot vans were deployed to the Sandy Row area as violence broke out after anti-immigration protests. A number of businesses were targeted. An emergency meeting of Belfast City Council last night passed a motion in support of people and businesses affected by the violence. A special meeting of the Assembly takes place on Thursday. A number of police officers were injured as violent disorder continued in towns and cities right across the UK. 1 week since 3 children were stabbed to death in Southport. There have been around 400 arrests so far. Devon and Cornwall police say several officers suffered minor injuries and 2 members of the public were brought to hospital after rioting in Plymouth. London-based journalist Vincent McAvenny says there is deep coordination taking place.
What we're hearing from police intelligence is that there are certain known individuals, operatives on the far right who are older. They are using social media to coordinate a lot of young people, and we are seeing in the footage a lot of what is happening on the ground is young people who are in sort of face masks, balaclavas, that kind of thing, are literally being directed on the ground and urged on to fight the police and carry out these attacks.
Local Link says it's now in a position to progress the expanded and upgraded public transport service for Inishowen, with successful operators now notified after what was a robust procurement process. They hope to have these services up and running by mid-September, at which point they'll begin a retendering process for a smaller demand response type service that will operate door to door. Councillor Albert Doherty is welcoming the news and encouraging people to engage.
Very encouraging with the input of a new timetable and a review of services. and indeed the service rural link provide is critical for the Peninsula of Inishowen. All and any and every view from the general public that they want to share, they'd be very welcome, because we want to see what has been delivered that's effective and efficient and what remains to be done.
A councillor is calling on the HSE to engage with people in Inishowen in order to provide respite services for children and adults with special education and additional needs. Councillor Fionn Bradley says the school holidays are putting pressure on young people and their families. He's seeking a meeting with the HSE as a matter of urgency to progress the issue.
There has never been any proper and meaningful engagement from the HSE in relation to such a facility or such services in this area. They just seem to be burying their head in the sand. I want to see a purpose-built facility created here in Duncranach where these children and young adults can go. Some of them would say to live long-term, and it would be a residential setting in that sense, but also that there would be respite facilities if families needed respite for a weekend or for a week or for any reason, that would be there for them.
Well, the forecast in showers will become more isolated as the day goes on, with longer spells of sunshine following. Breezy with highs of 15 to 17 degrees Celsius today. Any lingering showers will clear, but it'll stay rather cloudy tonight with moderate to fresh southwesterly winds. Lowest overnight temperatures 10 to 12 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
Drivers know what trouble sounds like.
No. Okay. Forward. Oh no. Oh please no. Oh no.
That's why they get cover from Ireland's soundest car insurance provider, SuperValue Insurance.
Thanks for calling us, Finn. And don't beat yourself up about it. Sure, I'm driving 10 years and parallel parking still baffles me.
Get a quote from SuperValue Car Insurance to get 10% off online. And we'll even throw in €20 in vouchers. T's and C's apply. Vouchers include €2 or €40 spend. This car insurance is underwritten by AXA Insurance DAC. SuperValue Financial Services DAC, trading as SuperValue Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning. You're very welcome along to the 9 till noon show. It's the start of another week, albeit a short week for us and for many people listening. For not everyone, though, of course. It's 4 minutes past 9 on this Tuesday, the 6th of August, 2024. So how was your weekend? Is there anything you think we should be talking about? Get your comments into us, your topics into us right now. Caroline, or taking a well-deserved break. I think everyone can agree on that one. So Donna Marie and Shannon looking after the show today. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number. 086 60 25,000. Or give us a call on 07491 25,000. And just saying to Lee there during the handover how busy it was right across the weekend, with so much going on and so much to come over the next couple of weeks. And it's all down to actually a relatively small group of people that organise these fantastic events for us to get out to and to generate money for the economy and what have you. Fantastic stuff all together. Coming through Downings this morning actually on the way to work, and there wasn't a pick of rubbish about the place either. So whoever was cleaning up was out early doing it. So another group of individuals, fair play to them. Right, just to remind you, you can watch this show as you can every single day. We are live on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland. So if you want to watch us on your smart TV or Fire Stick at home, you can do that too, or take us with us on your mobile. We're on Facebook, Highland Hub, Highland News and Sport, and we return to X this morning after a hiatus of a week. We are broadcasting live on X, Highland Radio, at Highland Radio, simple as that. Hopefully the titles are correct. I may not have updated the titles, but sure, look, it's fine. Is it Ollie and Rewind? Or maybe they were updated. I can't tell. The Irish Times this morning, there is a far greater risk of significant cyber attacks in Ireland in the next 2 years than in previous times, the head of Ireland's National Cybersecurity Centre has said. The Centre's director, Richard Brown, has warned the risks have multiplied and there is a significantly heightened geopolitical risk now. The NCSC will today publish the state's first publicly available national cyber emergency plan outlining how such events will be declared, managed and coordinated. Mr. Brown said there was a reasonable assumption the plan would be used more and more in the next 2 years, a period in which the NCSC felt it had a reasonably good understanding of the risks faced. And it's how we deal with them. I mean, the cyber attack that affected most of us, I think, and was most disruptive was the one on the HSE. The problem is the HSE still uses an awful lot of old computers which are very susceptible to such attacks. So hopefully that side of things is being tidied up as well. The Irish Independent this morning, Irish far-right activists who travelled to Belfast at the weekend for an anti-immigration protest were hosted by a loyalist who was arrested in connection with the murder of 5 Catholics in a sectarian attack. The UDA man is described as Suspect 4 in a police ombudsman's report into the 1992 gun attack on Sean Graham's bookmakers. 5 people ranging in age from 15 to 66 were murdered in the sectarian atrocity. A police ombudsman's investigation into the UDA unit responsible for the attack identified a number of suspects, including the loyalists widely believed to have been the getaway driver. On Saturday, the UDA man hosted the Dublin far-righters in a bar in Sandy Row in South Belfast, where they boasted that they'd received a hero's welcome. Businesses, including a cafe and supermarket owned by immigrants, were attacked in the aftermath of Saturday's protest. The PSNI have said they were working with Gardaí to identify any suspects who crossed the border to become involved in violence. But yesterday evening then, at an anti-immigration protest outside the Clayton Hotel in Belfast city centre, it ended with no reports of violence. But then some of those that had travelled north, I think, were involved in a protest at the weekend in the south and were called out for the company they were keeping, if I understand that correctly. So there's an awful lot going on, not as much in the Republic at the moment, but certainly in Northern Ireland and in Britain. There is certainly something very significant happening in terms of public disorder and anger towards people of a certain religion, people from certain places. And a lot of it is being fueled by X, Elon Musk's platform. I mean, obviously people don't like certain terms being bandied about, far left, far right and all this kind of stuff. And there are people that have certain views, but then there's something else happening here where people are out causing serious disruption, blocking up fire escapes and setting buildings on fire. I would hope that most right-minded people would think that that's unacceptable, but it's that type of activity that is being fanned on the likes of X and on the Telegram platform as well. Elon Musk has caused outrage by claiming that civil war is inevitable after anti-immigration riots in the north and across the UK. This comes as Gardaí fear that loyalist far-right supporters will travel across the border for riots in the capital, with so-called all-island alliances forming after a weekend of unrest in Belfast. The Northern Assembly is to be recalled to discuss the violent scenes, while Gardaí have also launched an investigation and are sharing intelligence with their PSNI colleagues as to the identities and whereabouts of some of those, going to page 6, some of those involved in the protests. X has been accused of refusing to delete racist comments while allowing controversial activities such as Tommy Robinson and Andrew Tate back on the platform over the past 2 years. And as the Mail revealed yesterday, English Defence League founder Mr. Robinson was stoking the race riots with a series of videos on X, but he's on holiday in Cyprus, sunning himself whilst chaos ensues in Britain. On to the Irish Daily Star now, and there was a big crackdown on speeding from Gardaí. Well, at least there was a big crackdown on identifying people who were speeding. Nearly 1,000 drivers were caught speeding on Ireland's roads since the beginning of the bank holiday road policing operation. Since 7 a.m. on Thursday morning, 946 drivers were recorded doing over the legal limit, 160 of those in the 24 hours to 7 a.m. yesterday. One road user was detected in the Sea Point Promenade area of County Galway, travelling at 105 kph in a 50-kilometre zone. In the past 24 hours, a driver on the North Road in Drogheda was detected driving at 91 in a 60. There were a couple of people caught also in Donegal. I think one in particular was 110 or something in an 80 in Letterkenny. That's just off the top of my head. I might dig them figures out a little later on. The Mirror tells us that tens of thousands of additional pensioners could receive the fuel allowance as Heather Humphreys seeks to reduce the entitlement age. Sources close to the Social Protection Minister told the Irish Mirror she wants to cut the age-based income threshold limits from 70 to 66 as part of Budget 2025 negotiations, which I think would be really welcome to an awful lot of people out there. It comes amid warnings to those receiving job seekers allowance that their payments are unlikely to rise following October 1st spending review. The current rate of fuel allowance is €33 per week for 28 weeks between September and April. It can also be paid in 2 lump sums. There are several qualifying criteria to receive the allowance, including being over the age of 70. The criteria for the over 70s fuel allowance was introduced in the budget in 23, with over 177,000 households receiving the payment, but that maybe that age dropped to 66, which, there's quite a lot of people in that bracket there that could make winter far more manageable. So I do hope for them that does come through. On to the Sun. Ireland's Olympic medal heroes last night urged Kelly Harrington to go and make history. Swimming superstar Danielle Whiffen, who won both a gold and bronze already, told the paper she's ready for it. I'm sure she's going to put on a show and show how world-class she is. And now pommel horse champion Rhys McClenaghan also thinks Kelly will claim the big prize, adding, she's looking better than ever in my eyes. So she's facing an incredibly talented Chinese opponent, Yang Wenyu, who has beaten Kelly before. They fight tonight. I think it's just around about 10 o'clock tonight, by the way. Don't go by me. Double check your listings. But she's on the brink of an amazing achievement in her last international fight. But as I say, she has to overturn a previous defeat, although that was at a different weight class than some time ago. But if there's someone that can do it, it is Kelly Harrington. As I say, at 34, it's certainly her last Olympics, and I think potentially her last international boxing competition. So all very, very exciting. Right, just to remind how you get in contact with us, you can always comment on our social medias if you're watching the stream on Facebook, X and YouTube. WhatsApp and SMS text to 086 60 25,000, or you can give us a call on 074 91 25,000. We'll be back with more in the 9 till noon show after we take this quick break.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Get ready for the 55th Clonmany Agricultural Show at Pollen Green this Tuesday and Wednesday, August 6th and 7th. Experience action-packed fun for the whole family with thrilling livestock exhibitions, sheepdog trials and celebrity chef demos by Brian McDermott, Shane Smith and Nevin Maguire. Enjoy live music, jiving competitions, fashion shows and make-up demos by McElhinney's of Ballybuffet. Plus, don't miss the pet shows and much more. The Clonmany Agricultural Show this Tuesday and Wednesday.
Cupra now in Donegal. Drop in and visit our new showroom at DMG Cupra, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Open event Friday 9th and Saturday 10th of August. Avail of our great Cupra offers over the weekend. Call the DMG Cupra sales team on 074 9721 396 or visit dmgmotors.ie.
Transform your home with Hegarty's Home Interiors in Buncrana. Discover a wide selection of stylish furniture and decor to create your perfect space. Our expert team offers personalised advice to match your style and budget. Visit us on Main Street, Buncrana. Open Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. or visit hegartyshomeinteriors.ie. Hegarty's Home Interiors, making homes beautiful since 1946.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
It's a 9:15, 15 minutes past 9. Councillor Michael McClafferty is with you on the programme now this morning. Good morning, Michael. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Greg. Morning, listeners.
Right, so serious water disruptions affecting what areas, Michael?
At the minute, Greg, since Saturday night, it's been affecting all outside of Falcarra town, surrounding areas, Old Town, Ballintemple, so on. Basically a couple of mile radius or so outside Falcarra town. This morning now, and parts of yesterday, but now this morning immediately, it's affecting Falcarra town itself. This also, including the weekend, has been spreading it as well into the neighbouring town of Gottahork, the town itself, the outlying areas, so on, Maharorty, Minaclady, Glasgow, so on, etc. I'm after getting an email now just there in the last couple of minutes before you phoned there, Greg, of water disruption in Gottahork, and that's just hit no no explanation, no nothing, just water disruption because they're not able to see. So as a result, now this morning, businesses have been ringing me this morning since after 7 o'clock in Falkirk. The ones that have been open centre and so on, the usual ones that open early. They can't make coffee, they can't wash dishes, they can't get function there, or at least good in there a while ago at the deli anyway. All of this kind of stuff. It's going to be the same now, Greg, probably.
Like, are these scheduled outages or what went wrong?
No, this is not scheduled outages. Up until the weekend, we've had many water busts in the Falkirk area in recent weeks, as you know, from time to time. The weekend now that run at the minute, it's problems between the pump house and the reservoir, I'm told, but the pump house is actually giving the main problems. The operation plant, as they call it, they can't get it to function properly. It was going yesterday afternoon, as you see in my Facebook page there. I did say it was going, but it wasn't guaranteed. The workmen were at it there all weekend from Saturday night, right on through the night, I might add. Probably got no sleep at all, to be fair to them, God love them. And now we're back further back than ever we were now this morning, Greg, than we were on Saturday night. And worse than that this morning, what time were we at the work? We're about 25 past 9 now at the minute. See, in the next half hour, once the hairdressers and so on, that kind of stuff in Falkirk starts open, Greg, and the cafes are probably open at this stage at the minute there. Now we're almost open anyway, 9:30 and so on. They're going to have no water either, Greg. So basically the business of Falkirk are going to hearken beyond that. As well as that too, Greg, keep it in mind here as well this morning too, all the people are messaging and phoning there. Can't get water for, I think basically can't get water for the showers. There's people here with medical needs, there's people in the area with medical needs that need water as an ongoing basis due to their conditions and so on. There's home health going out to houses this morning, no water function for people there. There's obviously small children, babies, so on, etc., the usual stuff. And all the time, Greg, all I've been asking for all along, same as my college have there, and the Glenties MD, my other 5 colleagues here, and particularly Michael Collum and John Hamish, because it's affecting their areas big time as well, right on over to Buttonport and up into Malloy's area there in Glenties. Irish Water will not come and meet with us. That's unacceptable. We want Irish Water Management, Greg, to come and meet with us to see what is going on. I also requested as well on Sunday night, because I knew we would need it, to send water tankers to Western Donegal. That has fallen on deaf ears. I asked about it again this morning. 3 times. I asked for it Sunday night. I asked for it yesterday morning. I asked for it again this morning. Now, the change was this morning. They didn't even bother giving me a reference number this morning because they don't want to do it point blank, and I'll say that in record. They simply don't want to do it. And I said to the fella, Fran, I think he was coming, I was speaking to him on Sunday night, sorry. I just look, we'll be having the same conversation again tomorrow morning, Fran. If you can't get me somebody in authority that can at least get water tankers lined up to press the button. And he says, I can't do that, I'm not in position of authority. So I appreciate that, I understand you're only doing your job, and I appreciate that you're at the desk. But I said, you need to get me a manager or somebody in high authority that can say, right, folks, there's a huge problem in Western Donegal, get water tankers organised, get them rolling for Sunday morning. That hasn't happened. We're sitting here now Monday morning, Greg, and the whole town, as I say, at the minute now, Falkirk is awful water there at the minute. Businesses are not going to function, hairdressers are not going to function, nothing's going to function. God forbid if this is to happen at the weekend over in Dunlow, at the Mary from Dunlow, you can imagine the kind of chaos it was. And again, still no word this morning, despite me asking again this morning, this 2 hours ago, and messaging and whatnot to officials. I've got no word back yet, Greg, from an official to say what's going on, what's happening.
Well, they've described it as they've described it as a reservoir interruption. And they say works are scheduled to take place until 11 a.m. today, and then after that, it should take 3 or 4 hours for supply to fully return. So, what is the reservoir disruption or interruption? Have we been able to determine that?
Yeah, the pump house, because the reservoir is not going to function, Greg. They're saying the reservoir is lower than what it should be. That's fair enough. It may be lower than what it should be, but my answer is there. If it's lower than what it should be, all the reservoirs around the county need to be extended onto Baltbigger or whatever. We're a county and a country, indeed, of Ireland. We're not short of rain. So if there is reservoir problems, when there is dry spells, and particularly busy weekend, summertime and so on, they need to allow for that. They need to build on that. Mm-hmm. But anyway, getting back to the point this morning, Greg, the main situation is regarding the reservoir. The reservoir's not going to put out the water if the pump station's not there to do it.
So
the problem.
So the pump station is faulty?
The pump station is faulty, yes. The pump station is faulty. And I challenge any Irish Water official who wants to come on this morning, or come on any day they want, come on now. immediately if they're listening and challenge me out of that there's nothing wrong with the pump station, that they can come on and clarify there's nothing wrong with the pump station, because I'm putting it clearly out in Highland Radio to the 70,000 listeners, whatever's there. There is something wrong, Greg, with the pump station and Got a Hork, and we are not being told the truth about it. And this is what has been happening all weekend. The pump station is giving problems, and until that is resolved, we are going to be in the same situation going forward. And as well as that too, Greg, there is not next or near enough of staff, Irish Water staff, Irish Water workers, to be out on the ground working either. As far as I understand, for Got a Hork and so on, there's only a couple of staff there. Like, that's unacceptable. You need a whole heap of staff. Like, it's no different to yourself there in Time Radio, using for example. If you're missing for a day, Greg, out of that seat, there's numerous other people can jump into that seat and take over from you. It needs to be the same with the pump station and Got a Hork. God forbid if them fellas end up sick or anything else, there's nobody to take over. There's nobody to try and put it going. This is the situation now we are living in modern day Ireland in 2024. We have no water and we have shortage of staff, and we have Irish Water officials, whoever they are at the moment, can only say their faces at the minute, because they will not come and meet with us. They won't bring me back. They won't return emails. What am I supposed to do as a local rep?
As far as you're aware, Michael, were efforts made over the weekend to try and get the water back on?
Yes, efforts were made. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Efforts were made. Yes, by the local staff. They tried their best, and they did get it going for a period of time yesterday. Yesterday around dinner time or so. But it was stressed at the fact at the time, Greg, it was going, but it wasn't guaranteed. And I put that up on my Facebook page there. You'll see it. That it wasn't guaranteed to be going. And here we are now this morning. Again, now to be fair, the email came last night. I think it was 12:05 midnight this morning, but I was asleep. I fell asleep with that bloody exhausted and everything. And I didn't see it till around maybe 1:30 or 2 o'clock. I woke up again and went through my emails. And I saw it at that time, so we didn't get a chance at the time to get the word out officially.
So how would tankers have worked? Because, I mean, obviously, we're talking about businesses and hairdressers, nursing homes, tourists being able to access water for showers or whatever it might be. How does tankers work in that situation? Pardon my ignorance.
Well, I'm not fully sure either, Greg, but my understanding is the tankers work. You'd have numerous tankers, Arctic lorries going to the town or villages or outlying areas, whatever so on, and they would go to various points then. And I would imagine then for the town end of it itself that there'd be some way of pumping the water from the town, at least into certain points, out of the tanker, no different to pulling up at your petrol station or your diesel station. The same effect, I would imagine. And the worst case scenario, at least people could stand at the back of the tanker with a tap, like you see them sometimes there in RT1, different counties and whatnot when it's happening, and fill up the jars and so on, etc. And as well as that, Greg, if they're not able to send tankers or don't want to send tankers, they should be at least able to send lorries here with bottled water here at the minute. There's no water here at the minute throughout the place because it's all sold over the weekend. So you can't even get a bottle of water this morning, possibly, to make a cup of tea if you wanted, unless you already had it from Saturday evening or something.
It's a terrible disruption. It's a terrible disruption for people. It's a terrible disruption for people caring, or just generally in life, even having a shower, dishwashing, washing machines. Because also, too, we know that it takes, when that water comes back on, there's an awful lot of crap flushed through the pipes again as well. So, and as well as that, too, unless we're actually told what the problem is, we can't really then identify how much effort is being put in to fix that problem. So if they're saying there's nothing wrong with the pumping station, you believe that is the case. Like, we need to know, is it being repaired? Is it out of date? Does it need replacing? You know what I mean? I think information would be vital here. People can deal with information, but they can't deal with the absence of it.
They can't deal with the absence of it, Greg, and as well as that, this is Falcara now. Falcara Got a Hork yesterday, for example, they started pumping the water from Chrysler, Dunfanny, onwards towards Falcara. I would say that's at its limit now, so that has to be stopped now, or it has stopped now because nothing's functioning today, so it's all stopped anyway. Chrysler as well, for example, there last week in Chrysler's ongoing problem in Chrysler too, from outside of Chrysler town, a mile or a mile and a half stretch of pipe work there. It's breaking down every turnabout like a pincushion. You don't need to be no scientist what's wrong. It needs a stretch of pipe replaced. And they won't give the funding to replace the stretcher pipe. And then when the water goes back on again, like you say, then people can't drink the water then for 5 or 6 hours afterwards because it's all white gloomy stuff then, and they don't know whether it's safe to drink or not drink.
All right, well, as
this
I say,
is the kind of madness going on.
The only contact we've been able to get from Irish Water is to say that the reservoir interruption may cause supply disruptions to Falcara Village, Derryconnor and surrounding townlands. Works are scheduled to take place until 11 a.m. They believe they'll have the problem fixed at 11 a.m. and then they recommend 3 to 4 hours after the estimated restoration time for supply to fully return. So we shall see. We'll keep an eye on that.
But Greg, to be fair, no, it's important to point out here, with respect to what you said there a minute ago, that email come on there late this night or early this morning to yourselves there. There's been another email since that in relation to Go to Hork, and there's no explanation at all other than there's a disruption. So in other words, the last email whoever sent it, they haven't a clue what's going on. When no explanation at all other than there's disruptions like. As regards to the reservoir, of course, the reservoir is not going to be able to put out the water if the pumping station's not going. It's the same principle, Greg, to be fair, for everybody to get the sampling, and you know what to do. But just to be clear about this, to be 100% clear, it's like pulling up with your petrol pump with your car empty. And the problem is, you need to get the petrol from the pump out of the hose into your car, but if the pump on the ground is not working, you're not going to get the petrol. So it's very good for them saying the reservoir problem, but the problem is the pump. If the pump ain't working, it doesn't matter how many reservoirs is there, and if there is a genuine reservoir problem as they're saying, well, it's up to our TDs to start roaring and shouting in the oil to get us more money to build
if there's an ongoing reservoir problem, you're not going to fix it in a couple of hours, so it has to be some way. It has to be the water delivery system. So that email you referenced there came in to us at 9 a.m. We're currently investigating reports of a supply disruption to Go to Hork and surrounding areas. Okay. All right. Listen, thanks for that. I do appreciate your time this morning. Councillor Michael McClafferty there. A caller says you would wonder how the water levels are low when it has been raining since last July. But we have a system whereby, we catch water in effectively a large bowl here on the surface of the water. And you would wonder, well, how do they always have water in Spain or Portugal where it never rains? Well, they source water a different way. Maybe that's what we should be doing as well. You need an awful lot of rain, and though whilst it might feel like it's been raining since last July, it's about the inches and centimetres or millimetres, or however you count it, of rain that actually falls. But you would think after the 24 hours of rain we had at the weekend, there'd be no water shortages in Ireland or in Donegal, but that's just simply not how it works, because I don't think we're efficient in how we gather it, and given the extent of leakages and the poor piping infrastructure, we're certainly not efficient in how we deliver it to homes and businesses.
Is it Friday yet? Because that's when we flash the cash to get you in the mood. Big bucks. It's all coming soon, only on Highland Radio.
TFI Local Link operates evening and weekend services throughout rural Ireland to help you stay connected 7 days a week. We know life doesn't just happen 9 to 5, so if you're commuting, shopping, visiting family, or going out in the evenings or on the weekends, let TFI Local Link take you there. Visit transportforireland.ie.
Discover a new standard in healthcare at Greenview Medical Centre, Letterkenny. For routine checkups or urgent concerns, Greenview Medical Centre offers children's consultations, referrals, prescriptions and specialised male and female healthcare. Don't wait to get the care you deserve. Book now at greenviewmedicalcentre.ie or call 074 920 2070. Early morning and late evening appointments available. Greenview Medical Centre, Riverside Retail Park, Letterkenny. A new health horizon.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas, Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
Okay, so Mount Errigal Mountain, I beg your pardon, seemed to be incredibly busy again at the weekend. I passed a couple of times and no end of cars and people climbing up it. But efforts will be ongoing this weekend to return it to the way it was after it was repaired or improved. But was damaged by rain. Very convoluted, but Josephine Kelly, project officer with Friends of Errigal, is going to help us work all this out. Good morning to you, Josephine. How are you keeping?
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for having me on.
No harm at all. Last time we spoke, there had been a torrential downpour, and that had affected work that had happened on the mountain. So just remind people who may not be aware or who don't climb what actually happened then.
Yeah, it was back in May. We had probably what you would describe as a severe weather day. We had 5 inches of rain that fell in a 3-hour period. And I'm told like 5 inches would be a significant amount of rain to fall in a 24-hour period, never mind in a 3-hour. And it was kind of isolated in and around the Errigal area. And there is a little stream that runs down alongside the path. And the torrent of water that came down took parts of the embankment of the stream with it, lifted large boulders and choked the stream in different places. And what happened then is the water had nowhere to go, and it came up over the path in a couple of places and damaged the path. And, looking back now, it's something that we could never have predicted because just the volume of water that fell, and, there's no design fault or no fault on the guys who constructed the path. It was just a 1 in 80-year event. There's a local guy who lives in Dunleary, and he said the last time he remembers a day like that was back in 1952, just the sheer volume of water that came down. And as you said there, you're passing the car park, and you can see all the cars. Anybody who's familiar with that road, even if they look below the road, they'll see the amount of gravel and stone that actually came down underneath the road, under the bridge, and came down, to the lower reaches of the hill. Kind of gives you an idea of just the scale of the water that came down.
Yeah, unbelievable stuff. And given the fact that it is a mountain, getting the work done in the first place, and then also obviously the repairs are complicated.
That's right. Yeah, it's the mountain's all about the habitat and the surrounding landscape, and the reason the path was built initially was to protect that landscape and to kind of keep people on a narrow line. So to do any work there it's very sensitive. You can't really start tracking a machine, and so the most efficient way to do that work is using a helicopter. And the contractors are from Scotland, and they bring the helicopter over for a scheduled period. So this week, tomorrow, the helicopter will be working there, and we hope they'll have it all done tomorrow, but they're allowing for maybe some potential work taking place on Thursday as well, depending on what the weather is like tomorrow. So if anybody wants to have a look at the Facebook page, and they can see the helicopter working there previously, there's a video up. So the helicopter carries a skip at the bottom, at the end of a long line, and they will be using that to lift material from the car park up along the line of the path, and that will be going on all day tomorrow.
As a result, I presume then there could be some traffic disruption close to the mountain?
Yeah, that's right. The traffic will be down to a single line because as the helicopter comes into the car park, it's very close to the road there. So just for safety for the cars on the road, they have it down to a single line, and there'll be a stop-go in operation. So there will be traffic disruptions, and that's one of the reasons why we were asking people not to climb Errigal tomorrow and the next day. Is that if you have additional cars there, it's going to add to the safety issues and to the workload of the guys trying to manage that traffic, and as well as they have all the safety procedures in place. And we can't stop people climbing the mountain, but we're asking them not to, because if there's going to be people walking along the line of the path and the helicopter carrying a large skip of stone and aggregate above them is not safe, and it's just going to lead to the workload of the lads on the ground there as well, that they're going to have to be asking people to stay back and stuff like that.
This is significant work with significant dangers attached. Is there a reason why, and it wouldn't happen too often, because there's an awful lot of people who might be travelling to the area that aren't listening to this and won't heed a warning, that you say we can't stop people climbing the mountain. You'd imagine with the type of work that's going on and the danger involved and the window that's quite narrow, that we could stop people climbing the mountain just while such important work is ongoing.
Yeah, the mountain just is such a large area, and there, you can restrict people at the path side itself, but you can't restrict people from climbing in other areas, and so that's what we're very conscious of that. So we're appealing to people's goodwill and to the to sound reason that anybody who's there that sees that the helicopter is operating, that they will pay heed to the guys on the ground there.
Okay, so you're hoping most of the work will be done tomorrow, if possible, into Thursday. After that, obviously, I mean, the helicopter's taking the material up. How long will it take those on the ground to instate it?
Yeah, we're estimating that they'll be there probably till around about mid-September, and that shouldn't really restrict anybody on the mountain. It will restrict the car park, obviously, because there's materials there and there's comfort units and that for the guys working. But we're thinking up until about mid-September, they're going to be doing additional cross drains and some additional steps on the aggregate area down the lower parts of the slope, just to mitigate any future potential flooding that may occur as well. So that work is going to be done over the next probably 6 weeks or thereabouts.
Okay, but you're asking people to avoid it if possible for obvious reasons. I think that's quite clear.
Yes.
All right. Listen, thank you very much for that. I do appreciate it.
Okay.
All right.
All
take
right.
care
Thanks,
of yourself.
Greg.
Bye
Okay,
bye.
thank you.
That is Josephine Kelly, project officer with Friends of Errigal. Right, okay. Now, our next story. Ireland can no longer hide behind its neutrality when it comes to the dangers posed by the sophisticated spying networks of foreign states, according to an expert. The expert said that some countries, including Russia, have been found to be actively engaging in spycraft in Ireland with malign intent. Declan Power joins us on the programme now, a security and defence analyst. Good morning to you, Declan. Thanks very much for taking the time to speak with us.
Good morning. Nice to be here.
Right. So, what is the threat posed to us?
Well, I would describe the threat, the nature of threat pertaining to Ireland as multifaceted and across a spectrum of platforms and coming from a spectrum of areas. So, most of your listeners will probably be aware of the comments from Assistant Commissioner McElgunn, who's in charge of the Garda Security and Intelligence section. And when he mentioned, for example, Russia, people would fixate in on that and, Russian espionage. But there are a number of other interlinked threats. I mean, today it's been reported in the Irish Times about the warnings from the National Cybersecurity Agency. Now, we have a tendency to think of those things in splendid isolation, but they're all interlinked. So, for example, a nation-state actor like Russia that's active in Ireland. It's not purely Ireland that they're targeting, it's other interests, UK, US interests, the fact that Ireland is a leading member of the European Union. They're seeking to destabilise from within across Western Europe. And seeking to destabilise from within can take the form of theft of intellectual property, threatening foreign direct investment, but it can also take the form of spreading seeds of disinformation, which, as we've seen with the recent riots in Coolock, as we've seen across the water with the riots that have happened since the Southport killings, how effective that can be to hollow out a state and to pose a challenge to a democratically mandated state.
Just in relation to that element of it, Declan, I mean, analysis of an awful lot of the commentary on, like, there are key players that people would be familiar with internally that publicise or agitate or whatever. There are some suggestions that, where do they get the resources to do all of this? Maybe that's part of this problem as well. But if you look at the commentary about what's going on and the sharing of videos and what have you, a lot of that's from actually outside the Republic.
Yes, and the issue of disinformation itself, particularly as it pertains to migration, is a good problem, security problem to analyze to get an idea of the complexity. There are the outside influences, but we can't forget the homegrown element as well. And nor can we focus on the homegrown element to the exclusion of those other elements and think that will solve the problem. So we'll say An Garda Síochána are likely to bring a number of people before the courts for the riots in Coolock. There would be convictions. But that's just the tip of the iceberg stuff. We need a whole of society approach that has to be married up, I would argue, between different government departments, between elements of commerce, and what the Scandinavians developed from the 1980s, a sort of a civil society approach, so that this awareness needs to percolate on down through society. So just to use the migration issue, you would have individuals who would have been susceptible to that issue. Not even maybe because they're racist per se, but because they are suspicious of anything the state or government will say. And this may hark back to the pandemic and before that. And so they're in a prepared state, if you like, for an ideologue to come along and say, this is the key reason that your society is going down the tubes. People like that tend to be black and white. Now you take then that attitude, you take ideologues that always had racist, extreme right-wing attitudes about migration, who know how to stir that pot, and then you add into that the ability to turbocharge it when a nation state like Russia starts to trawl through the social media platforms and to stir the pot. And then you've got this unholy triumvirate of things that cause huge problems for a state like Ireland. So to answer your question in its totality, how does a state like Ireland protect itself? Well, one of the key things is that we don't do it in splendid isolation, that we work with partner states because we're all being affected. We can see what's happening in the UK.
And this is not necessarily, Declan, about trying to control a narrative or a population. Like, if society has issues with immigration policy, for an example, and they're based in facts, there are elections that people can protest in a peaceful way. We've seen it with the water charges or other matters. This isn't about stopping people having their views on certain topics. This is where it descends into mob violence, firebombing, all that type of stuff. That's what's being agitated. And the Russians themselves says quite clearly that they are prepared to use migration as a weapon to drive Ukrainians into wider Europe, knowing that then you can stoke other stuff and it creates the situation we're in. This is not about people necessarily having genuine concerns about migration either. That seems a little easier to understand than other stuff that might be going on.
Well, Greg, you make a very compelling point there. And it chimes in with something that Commissioner McElgunn said as well at the weekend. He talked about I think he called it the legitimate space. So there is a legitimate space for people to dissent within democracy. And nobody has a problem with that. And that's where the political platforms allow for debate, allow for changes of policy through elections. And that works. We know it works. However, where it becomes more insidious is the lack of education amongst a certain cohort, a significant cohort, who will turn to violence, gets stoked by countries like Russia and other totalitarian states that don't have any respect for the rules-based approach or the human rights-based approach that is at the bedrock of democracy. So, one of the key defenses here is education and awareness, because if you do have an issue about the policies of migration, there are spaces, there are routes that you can take to address that, effective routes if you get into power, if you go for election. And we have seen independent candidates put themselves forward in increasing numbers in this country and affect the discourse and the debate. And we have seen the public either gravitate towards them, as they have done on issues, I know, up around your neck of the woods. I think Marion Harkin and Thomas Pringle made great inroads over issues pertaining to one particular community. And we've seen others get discarded by the public, such as Mick Wallace and Claire Daly, when their policies became too odious for their constituency to support. So democracy works.
Yeah, and just in relation to that, and it is democracy. Darren on Facebook says, "Good morning, Greg. Will you ask that man about the misinformation and disinformation coming from our government? Governments are the biggest misinformation propaganda machine." Now, we're not getting into the politics of that because that's not what we invited.
I wouldn't agree with it. I think our government are very poor at getting the message out. Whether if they were trying to be propagandists, and
they're not great at it. I agree with you.
They'd fail the test.
But that being said, we are in a democracy whereby that Darren can suggest that, and someone else can disagree with that, and then maybe we can come down to a point where there's elections and all that. That's not the same as trying to blocking up fire escapes and trying to burn people in accommodation. This is political discourse where you might think the government are lying to you. That's fine if you believe that to be the case. And you talk about not stirring things up. Like, we've got a multi-billionaire sitting in an ivory tower in America who is a hero to so many people, that being Elon Musk. I have no issue with the man really in particular. But his platform has become part of the problem in that, firstly, a lot of this information is spread on it in front of your eyes, but also commentary like saying civil war is inevitable. Like, there's huge consequences for that type of a language, because we're talking about what would be a civil war effectively against, Muslims or non-whites and primarily white people in Britain, fighting each other in the streets with swords and guns and what have you. Like, that language it's very hard to talk about, malign influences and all that kind of stuff when we've got the head of the biggest platform, you could argue, for news in the world, stoking it.
Absolutely. And I think the only way to combat this in the long term, I mean, you can talk about changing laws, you can talk about attacking somebody like Musk through the sponsorship and the investment he gets for his platforms, but it goes back to the basics, education and awareness. And what you talked about there, Greg, you're talking about kind of a primary introduction to the growth of totalitarianism and fascism, which is the spread of simplistic messages, black and white approaches and solutions to problems, and scapegoating. And if you look at the origins of how the Nazis came to power, for example, in Germany, they're not the only fascist group, but they're probably the most significant ones in recent history. It was through that kind of messaging. And Hitler was very adept at using media at the time. Mass media, the Nuremberg rallies, they were the social media events of their day. But the sad reality is that scapegoating, which is what the migration issue is about, claiming that these people that are coming here from misbegotten parts of the world and getting rid of them somehow are the solution to all our problems. That is turbocharged when you put the messaging, simplistic black and white messaging, on social media platforms that can't really be countered, because the people who are accessing those platforms, they live in an atomized world. They're surrounding themselves in an echo chamber. And so the challenge for government is, how do you try and penetrate
Well, you
the echo
don't, because
chamber?
you can't, because when you're explaining, you're losing. And
Yeah.
Donald Trump's very good at this. Like, he will sit there and say, I'm not saying everything he says is wrong, but he will say there are millions upon millions of people coming across the border. They're being kicked out of asylum accommodation, mental asylums, I think is the word he used, prisons. They're flooding the country. Now, there's an awful lot of immigration and people are coming from all over the place. But what he's actually saying specifically there is you can completely disprove that, but it only has to be heard. And then that clip only has to be shared. And then it's there. It's part of the narrative, and it's part of the truth, in inverted commas, albeit provable that it's not the case. Now, that's a difficult conversation, because people don't like being labelled as far right or this, that, and that. Other elements, and also kind of funny, I know it was just a script, but we were being described as neutral. We can't hide behind our neutrality. I don't think Russia thinks we're neutral. I don't think there's any country thinks we're neutral. We're not neutral. We're part of Europe, and Europe's making decisions. So we're not neutral in the cyber world. But like, it's the likes of the attack on the HSE a more sort of relatable concern as to what might happen going forward?
Yes, is the simple answer to that. And we should remember that the attack on the HSE, the problem with these attacks is they're non-attributable. It's not, even if it were possible to be able to directly link it to the Russian state. What do we do then? And the reality is the Russian state have been very cleverly using what I would describe as privateers, to use an old term from the era of piracy. They're criminal groupings who have been for a long time engaged in cyber crime, but they are facilitated and hosted on Russian territory. And as long as they're in line with Russian state policy, they'll be left alone. That's become more coordinated now. So we will see more of those kinds of attacks. And it's incumbent upon small and medium enterprises to try and gen up on the necessary information to protect themselves from those kinds of attacks. I think the key thing to how we improve our defense and security in this country is to have a more holistic approach to it, Greg. Talking about the things that you're talking about on air this morning, reminding Irish people that the threats that face Ireland are not likely to be an airborne or seaborne invasion from Russia, but an invasion of different sorts, or a weaponization of different sorts, that if we don't wake up to it on time, as we're trying to do now, it'll be too late. They'll have invaded too many mindsets, or they'll have undermined our democracy from the inside out. But the key thing to this, and comes back to your point about neutrality as well, we don't have to join NATO, but we do have to partner up with like-minded states. Now, we're in a big partnership. We're in the European Union, which I would argue defeats any argument about neutrality. Whether we're sending weapons to Ukraine, or whether we're sending fuel for their tanks, we're still part of that war effort. We've taken a side. Ireland always does take sides. We took a side on the war in Gaza, for example. When you take sides, there are consequences. when you make statements condemning human rights abuses in other parts of the world, there are potential consequences for us, for our people. We need to properly protect ourselves. The best way to protect ourselves is the same thing that we've done countless times to improve our society, and that is to work in cooperation with like-minded nations. Collective security works.
But what about our vulnerabilities, Declan? We can't dig too deep into this, but, just using the HSE for an example, we know through underinvestment and what have you, I still believe there's quite a large cohort of computers operating, older computers that we're having to pay millions for specific updates for, because we haven't actually, we haven't actually caught up with the latest operating software. That's the kind of stuff that we have to rely on government to get right as well, too.
You're quite right. But there's a synergy here, Greg. Government have their responsibilities, and I'll come back to that in a moment. There are some positives with that, but each individual too. Remember, the HSE didn't happen. The HSE penetration happened because somebody pressed a button that they shouldn't. So situational awareness for every individual that operates a computer in a workplace is one of the key frontline defenses that we have against these kinds of attacks. That starts with people being aware that they're psychologically proficient and not easily played, getting a message from somebody to authorize them to do something that seems a little incongruent, that they have the wit to check it out before they carry out the task. Coming back to the government, to be fair to them, and in particularly the National Cybersecurity Centre, have been developing strategies in concert with our European neighbours. So we're involved with two particular groups, one within the European Union and one that is NATO-led. We're involved with a number of NATO subgroups. You don't have to be a full member. Through our Partnership for Peace mechanism, which has yielded this country a lot of benefit and has the potential to yield it more, we have developed a national cybersecurity response strategy, or should I call it a national cybersecurity threat response strategy that has three different components to it. That now, had we that in place, would have allowed the state to respond more effectively. There would have been less chaos perpetrated during the HSE penetration had we had this strategy in place. You could argue a little late now, but better late than never. So we are moving forward, and the key point I want to reiterate is what helps us move forward, both on a societal level and also, Greg, on a technical level, on the software development sides of it, is being involved in groups where these kinds of intelligence is being shared, and that strategies are being developed based on techniques that work.
Okay.
That's the benefit of cooperation. Trying to do this in splendid isolation would be a fool's errand.
All right, Declan, listen, thank you very much for your time. Very interesting indeed. That's Declan Power, Security and Defence Analyst. It's his view. And we have to listen to all views as well, of course. Some of it is indisputable. I mean, we are very vulnerable. We are a target, and we have to be doing anything we can, presumably, to protect ourselves. All right, let's take a break.
Letterkenny Summer Sessions Festival presents a full weekend of concerts at the Big Top at Kiltoy, Letterkenny from the 15th to the 18th of August. Thursday 15th of August, Kneecap, Casso, The Scratch and much more. Friday 16th of August, Dance Night featuring Brian Kearney, Shugs, Will Atkinson and more. Saturday 17th of August, The Wolf Tones and special guests. Sunday 18th of August, a very special show. Queen, Europe's most authentic Queen tribute, on stage alongside the Dublin Gospel Choir. Go to summer-sessions.ie or Summer Sessions on social media for tickets and all info. That's the highly anticipated Letterkenny Summer Sessions, 15th to 18th of August.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace. It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
That's the sound of someone sleeping soundly on a Restex mattress. Choose from the Donegal range. A Teelan, a Kinnigo, or a Mulroy mattress. It'll change the way you sleep forever. Restex Beds, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Leave the rest to us.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenney's. Support a local Donegal business with McElhenney's. From fashion to home essentials, find everything you need for any occasion. Shop McElhenney's Ballybuffet for quality you can trust.
A cloudy and rather blustery start with scattered showers drifting over in a southwesterly breeze. The showers will become a little more isolated later with longer spells of sunshine following. Breezy overall. Temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees. Thanks for keeping us busy, relatively busy, on the text machine. Irish Water are more interested in making money than solving problems, believes one listener. Another, it's a disgrace how Protestants and Catholics are treating foreigners in the north at the moment. The police were doing everything that they could. That's in relation to the presumably the unrest in Belfast. Why doesn't the Irish government hire security cruise ships? This will free up hotels and services. Is that to house people? They tried that in Britain. I'm not sure if it actually... I know they trialled it. I'm not sure if they actually ended up filling the ship with people. It's the politicians who sold off Irish Water. Where are they now? We need to hold them accountable. There are communities left without water as a result, believes one listener. A special thanks to the man who drove me to the Cashel Nor Hotel in Annagry after our bus driver left us at the side of the road in the rain and wouldn't take us any further. Thank you very much. You saved the day, says that person there. Raymond emailed us to say, yesterday, for the first time, I had lunch at an Irish-speaking restaurant in Bunbeg in Gweedore, the Cafe Kitty. I unexpectedly received a phenomenal, highest quality meal in my view, would merit a Michelin 3 or 4 star rating. It was simply amazing at how tasty and excellent the food was. Just thought I'd pass my kudos along. That comes in from Raymond. Fair play to the crew down at Cafe Kitty. Obviously, one very happy customer there. And just one quick request before we take a break for the news. Would it be possible to get a mention for my niece and goddaughter, Orla Craig, this morning? She's currently over in Fanad on her holidays with her mum, dad, wee brother Callum and Granny Liz. This is exam result day in Scotland, and she got 6 A's and 2 B's. We're so proud of her, with lots of love from Auntie Eileen and everyone back home in East Kilbride. Well done to you, Orla. That's quite a fine result. Back with more after the news and obituary notices.
Don't know if you know Alice and Pat. Late 40s, couple of kids, been together 17 years. Never married, of course, but that's not a problem. Until something happens, and suddenly words like unmarried, inheritance, and substantial tax bill enter the equation. You never need proper estate planning. Until you do. That's why the experienced team at McElhenney & Associates are here to help. Find us online or call 074 917 5989. McElhenney & Associates Solicitors, Stranraer.
Century Complex Letterkenny are holding their annual charity fun family day in aid of St Bernadette's Special School and Little Angels School on Wednesday the 21st of August at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Check out Century Complex social media pages for more information on how you can help support these charities while having fun on Wednesday the 21st of August.
For all your pharmacy needs, we'll be delighted to serve you at the new Brennan's Pharmacy in Letterkenny, now open at the Forte Retail Park across from the new Dunn Stores and Costa. Easy to get to with easy free parking. We're here for all your prescription needs, medicines and pharmacist advice with an extensive range of skincare, vitamins, supplements, gifts and much more. Brennan's Pharmacy Letterkenny is open from 9 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Monday to Friday, 9 to 6 on Saturday. So for all your pharmacy needs and advice you can trust, with easy free parking, drop into the new Brennan's Pharmacy Letterkenny. Call us on 074 970 8060. We're here for you.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. A West Donegal councillor says Uisce Éireann continues to refuse to meet with local representatives while people in Falcarra, Gortahork and Integrador and the Rosses are once again without water because of reservoir issues. Councillor Michael McClafferty says on Sunday and yesterday he sought water tankers and got no response, with several businesses now unable to function properly because they don't have a water supply. He told Greg Hughes on today's 9 till noon show it's clear there is a major problem with the reservoir and pumping station, and that needs to be addressed as a matter of urgency.
The pump station is faulty, and I challenge any Irish water official who wants to come on and challenge me out of that there's nothing wrong with the pump station. But I'm putting it clearly out in Highland Radio. There is something wrong with the pump station and Gortahork, and we are not being told the truth about it. And this is what has been happening all weekend. The pump station is giving problems, and until that is resolved, we are going to be in the same situation going forward. And as well as that too, Greg, there is not next or near enough of staff, Irish water workers, to be out on the ground working either.
Petrol bombs and missiles were thrown at police in South Belfast again last night as riots escalated again. The public were warned to avoid the Donegal Road and Sandy Row areas, while the PSNI warned crowds to disperse. At least one police car was burned, with several others set alight in both areas. Belfast-based journalist Amanda Ferguson says the majority of the community were disgusted with what was happening.
Businesses perhaps that would usually be frequented by people of colour and people from the Muslim community were packed full of their white neighbours wanting to show solidarity, having cups of coffee, trying to put a bit of money through the businesses that had been targeted at the weekend.
A number of police officers were injured in the UK as disorder continued in towns and cities right across the country. 1 week since 3 children were stabbed to death in Southport. Around 400 arrests have been made so far. Devon and Cornwall police say several officers sustained minor injuries and 2 members of the public were taken to hospital after rioting in Plymouth. London-based journalist Vincent McAviney says there is deep coordination taking place.
What we're hearing from police intelligence is that there are certain known individuals, operatives on the far right, who are older. They are using social media to coordinate a lot of young people, and we are seeing in the footage a lot of what is happening on the ground is young people who are in sort of face masks, balaclavas, that kind of thing, are literally being directed on the ground and urged on to fight the police and carry out these attacks.
Local Link has said it's now in a position to progress the expanded and upgraded public transport service for Inishowen, with successful operators now notified after what they say was a robust procurement process. They hope to have the services up and running by mid-September, at which point they'll then begin a retendering process for the smaller demand response type service that will operate door to door. Well, Councillor Albert Doherty is welcoming the news and encouraging people to engage.
Very encouraging with the input of a new timetable and a review of services, and indeed the service Rural Link provide is critical for the Peninsula of Inishowen. All and any and every view from the general public that they want to share, they'd be very welcome, because we want to see what has been delivered that's effective and efficient and what remains to be done.
The Federal Reserve in the US is set to significantly cut interest rates after concerns the world's largest economy may be heading into recession. Weak jobs data in the US on Friday sparked concerns about growth in the world's largest economy, leading to big falls in world markets. Market analyst Paul Somerville says the US economy is in real trouble.
The jobs numbers and all what we hear about the GDP numbers in the USA have been exaggerating to the upside. And it's really amazing that investors have taken all this on board and are so optimistic and so bullish about the outcomes. Basically, in my view, they're pricing in a Goldilocks scenario for the US economy, which just simply isn't going to happen.
Weather forecast. Showers will become more isolated later with longer spells of sunshine following. Breezy overall with highs of 15 to 17 degrees Celsius. Any lingering showers will clear away, but it will remain rather cloudy tonight with moderate to fresh southwesterly winds. Lowest temperatures 10 to 12 degrees Celsius. A mix of cloudy periods and sunny spells in the morning with just a few isolated showers drifting over. Becoming largely dry by the afternoon with longer spells of sunshine. Westerly breezes and top temperatures of 17 to 20 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. Check all of today's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, have a very good morning. The obituary notices for this Tuesday morning, the 6th of August. The death has taken place of Delia McMonigal, née Carr, Buncrana, and formerly of Urris Clonmany. Delia's remains will repose at the family home in Leanan, Urris Clonmany, today and tomorrow from 12 noon until 9 p.m. Funeral from there on Thursday morning at 9:30, going to St Michael's Church, Erris, for Requiem Mass at 10 o'clock, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or McFeely Funeral Directors. Delia's funeral mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Jackie Hunter, Findrum Convoy. The family home is private, please. Jackie will repose at Terence McClintock's funeral home, Ballyboe, today from 4 until 6, followed by removal to St Mary's Church Convoy for reception prayers and to repose overnight. Funeral mass there tomorrow morning at 11, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Terence McClintock Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Patsy Greer, 2 Drimnamona, Umla, Carrigart. His remains will repose at his late residence today from 11 a.m. until 10 p.m. and again tomorrow from 11 until 10. Funeral from there on Thursday to the Church of St John the Baptist, Carrigart, for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. until 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Margaret Doherty, Maggie Henn, Disternan Glenealy. Maggie's remains will repose at Eamon McLaughlin's funeral home today from 11 until 4 and again tomorrow from 6 until 9. Funeral from there on Thursday morning at 10:15 for 11 o'clock funeral mass in St Mary's Church, Buchan, followed by interment in Buchan Graveyard. The funeral mass can be viewed live on cooldaftparish.com. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Padraig O'Sullivan, Coolboy Letterkenny, formerly of Dublin, reposing in St Joseph's Church, Rathmullen, with Requiem Mass there this morning at 11 o'clock. It can be viewed on MCN Media. It will be followed by burial in Rathmullen Cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Brighter Communities, care of Pascal Blake, Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Stephen Kipper Hoynes, 15 Old Mill Court, Sion Mills, formerly of Strabane. Funeral leaving his home this morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass in St Teresa's Church, Sion Mills, at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Jack Lavin, Dreenan Ballabafay, late of Swinford, County Mayo, reposing at his home from 1 o'clock this afternoon. Requiem Mass tomorrow morning at 11 in St Patrick's Church, Crossroads, Killygordon. Burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The Mass can be viewed on the St Patrick's Church Facebook page. Family time, please, before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the St Vincent de Paul Society. And the death has taken place of Anthony Tony Sheridan, 3 Kingsford Crescent, Derry, formerly of Rathmullen. Funeral Mass this afternoon at 1 o'clock in St Patrick's Church, Pennyburn, Buncrana Road, Derry, with burial afterwards in Rathmullen Cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Northern Ireland Chest, Heart and Stroke. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Darren knows these roads. He knows every turn, every tree, every person's house. He knows when he wants to put his foot down. But here's something he doesn't know. He doesn't know that Jim is searching for his phone and has taken his eye off the road, just around the corner ahead. Darren doesn't know this. But they're both about to find out very quickly. Even if you know the road, you don't know what's coming. Say no to speeding. A message from the Road Safety Authority. Visit rsa.ie.
You're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number, or give us a call at 07491 25,000. You can watch the programme, of course, on Facebook, Highland Hub, Highland News and Sport. We're on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, and on the X platform. We're back on X after a week's hiatus. Right, coming up very shortly, we have Community Garda information, where we have the latest appeals and information from An Garda Síochána. There's appeals as it relates to road traffic collisions in Cranford, Clonmany, an assault in Buncrana, criminal damage in Dunlow and Clonmany, a bike theft in Letterkenny, suspicious activity in Rathmullen, and so much more. So stay tuned for that, where you'll hear it first here. Garda Sean's going to be joining us, I believe, in the not too distant future. A caller says Letterkenny Pride is a waste of funding. There, with more participants waving flags than spectators viewing it, can the town not organise a good festival? It does. There's lots of good stuff goes on. I wasn't there because I was at other things, so I don't know what it was like. But I heard people had fun, and I suppose that's kind of what's important to me anyway. Another caller says, why can't businesses access the defective block scheme? Seems very unfair to me. The walls still have to be knocked and rebuilt again, and it's not our fault, same as a private residence. And listen, there are lots of people, more people perhaps can't than can access that scheme. And there's no real government commitment to extend it to commercial businesses. No party at this point, outside of course 100% redress. My dad goes into respite in St. Joseph. It has been cancelled. We don't know why. Who do we go to? It's very stressful for the family. We're going to be out money. Other families have been the same. No alternative offered. Okay, I don't know what the solution to that might be. Anyone else affected by that, please get in touch with us. We do chase up all inquiries, but if we get one, it could be a happenstance. If we get a number of them, we can sort of chase up a trend. Good morning, Greg. That woman, friend of Ergal, said nobody could predict what happened. I was up the mountain a week or two before it happened, and I said to my wife, the first good bout of rain, the path would be washed away. They had it set up to be washed away. It just looked good. It wasn't fit for purpose. When it washes away again, will that be the end of fixing it? Well, I can't talk to what contributed to it, but I know in some of the comments there was talk of drainage and cutting drains and stuff like that there to take the water away from the path. If you don't do that, of course, every time there's a significant rainfall, it will wash away the power of water. Ask anyone in a modern car to drive at 60 kilometres an hour. It can only be to make more money for speed vans. Our speed limit was always 60 miles per hour, and that was on the bad, windy roads in our clapped out cars. All well and good with these changes to speed limits, but who's going to police them? I live in Malin town. People have a total disregard for any speed limit, especially in the town centre. This is off the back of a public consultation that's been launched as it relates to speed limits. Obviously, the conversation of dogs came up in the programme towards the end of last week as well. Just some comments carried over from that. Greg, absolutely love to see dogs on our beaches. All they are doing is having fun, and I love it when the dogs come to me because all they're doing is saying hello. So let the people have fun with their dogs on the beaches. Thanks, Greg. That comes in from Anna Marie. And there was more conversation too as it relates to motorbikes on the Diamond in Donegal town. Some comments coming in on that. We'll get to them in a moment. Dogs running on all beaches in Fanad without leads all of the time, says a caller. Very frustrating, they believe. Right, let us take a break. And as I say, we'll be right back with Community Garda information.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday, the 6th of August. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S17. It's game number 32. The numbers are 52, 33, 66, 24, 2, 32, 27, 41, 79, and finally 75. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The Buncrana Golf Club development draw is getting closer, and so is the chance to win big with over €40,000 in prizes. with the first prize, a Hyundai i30 N-Line, and 4 amazing prizes worth over €10,000. Tickets available at driveathomedraw.ie or any club member. Your name could be on the winner's ticket. Get your ticket today. The draw takes place the 31st of August. Good luck and thank you for your support.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Are you female, currently unemployed and looking for a new career in construction? After the success of our pilot programme, Rural Enterprise SkillNet is delighted to announce the second Women in Construction programme commencing September 2nd in Letterkenny. For more information or to apply, visit ruralenterpriseskillnet.ie. Closing date for applications is August 12th.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
It is Tuesday, and it is the 6th of August, just after 10, so it's time for Community Garda information. An important part of the week because it gives the Garda an opportunity to, sometimes whilst it's fresh in people's memories, to tap into information which can help solve crime, which is important to the whole community, of course, and particularly those affected by it. Right, okay. We are joined this week by Garda Sean Sweeney. Good morning to you.
Morning, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for calling in. It's great to have you with us, and we'll get straight into it because your colleagues in Milford investigating a road traffic collision in Cranford.
Yeah, we're appealing for witnesses to a single vehicle collision. It's occurred in R245 at the Pans in Cranford. The early hours of Tuesday, 6th August, at approximately 2:30 a.m. The vehicle involved believed to be travelling from Carrigart towards Cranford, and the collision occurred. So the driver and passenger were taken to Letterkenny University Hospital and received treatment for injuries sustained which weren't life-threatening. So we're appealing to road users who travel in that stretch in the early hours that morning and who may have dashcam footage to make it available or any relevant information, please pass it to Gardaí Milford on 9153060.
So that's this morning, so it should be very fresh in people's memories.
Yes.
A road traffic collision also being investigated in Clonmany.
Yes, involved a van and a car. It's occurred on the R238 at Adhala, Clonmany, on Friday, the 2nd August at approximately 8:55 p.m. The van was travelling from Buncrana towards Clonmany and the car was in the opposite direction at the time of the collision. The driver and two passengers of the van were taken to Letterkenny University Hospital for, again, non-serious injuries. The driver of the car did not remain at the scene, so our appeal is to anybody who witnessed the collision, who also may have travelled along that route on that night, may have observed a person or persons on foot, to make contact with Gardaí Buncrana. Again, we're looking for dashcam footage. If you have it, make it available, and contact Gardaí Buncrana on 9320540.
All right, so the vehicle remained at the scene, but the driver didn't?
That's correct, yeah.
An investigation into an alleged assault in Buncrana.
This occurred in Park Lane, Buncrana. It's on Monday, the 29th of July, between 6 p.m. and 6:15 p.m. So a male and female youth reported being assaulted by a woman and a male youth at that location. Again, they had non-life-threatening injuries. So we're appealing to anybody who may have travelled in that area on that date, who may have dashcam footage, or if anybody witnessed the incident or has any relevant information, please contact Buncrana, again, 9320540.
Now, over west to Dunlow, criminal damage incident.
Yes, occurred at a house on the Gidor Road in Dunlow. The early hours of Tuesday, the 30th of July, is between 1 a.m. and 7 a.m. The front sitting room window of the house is smashed by stone between those times. So if anybody's in the area, observe the incident, or if they can assist with any relevant information, please contact Milford Garda Station on 9153060 or the confidential line on 1800 66611.
Two incidents of criminal damage in Clonmany this time.
Yes, occurred in Clay and Clonmany on the night of Sunday, the 4th August. Two cars being parked at a private residence at that location. That's along the R238 Clonmany to Dumfries Road. So they were damaged between 9:15 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. So the owners are parked up to attend the festival, and they returned to discover that the driver's side had been keyed in both cars, and the rear passenger brake light was also damaged in one of the cars. So Our appeal is anybody with relevant information to these incidents, please contact Moncana 9320540.
Yeah, and often if you pass, you can tell if there's something untoward happening or if it
Exactly,
looks a little out of the usual. And that's the kind of information, as small as it might be to the listener, could be very significant to the Gardaí. Now, theft of a bike in Letterkenny.
Yes, appeal information for the theft of the bike from the grounds of the ATU in Letterkenny is between 9 a.m. on Tuesday the 30th of July and 7:30 a.m. on Wednesday the 31st of July. So the bike is a red and black Trek hybrid bike. It was locked, but the lock had been cut off. So we appeal to anybody who may have come across this bike for sale on a second-hand basis, please alert us immediately. And if anybody observed any suspicious activity on the grounds of the ATU between those dates, or if they're aware of the current location of the bike, please contact Letterkenny on 9167 Again, any relevant information, if you want to be confidential, to 1800 666 111.
All right, thanks very much for that. Now, a suspicious vehicle in Rathmullen being investigated.
Yeah, that's right. So this is the area of the Kinniger Road, Rathmullen. It's occurred on Wednesday, 31st July at approximately 3:20 p.m. The vehicle in question is a white Mercedes van. We're appealing to anybody whose dashcam footage may have travelled on the road or in the area of Clearwater, Rathmullen, between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. to make the footage available. Or if anybody has any information, please help us by contacting Gardaí in Milford, 9153060.
All right, okay. A couple of questions here. There was one question that we can't talk about, can we? Because...
Yeah, so one other question relates
to
road
traffic,
traffic,
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, we can't comment on individual incidents, but we'd ask that caller please contact Garda Station, any Garda Station, and speak with us directly, and we'll see if we can answer the question you raised. And again, if the person which the question relates to is over 18, we'll only be able to discuss the incident with them.
Okay, and that's obviously whoever sent that in will know exactly what we're referencing there.
Yeah.
Right, okay. A call wanted to know how we can make a complaint about Gardaí for harassment and intimidation.
So if you wish to lodge a complaint about any Garda member, you should visit the Garda Ombudsman site. This is www.gardaombudsman.ie. So you can lodge a complaint directly on that website, or you can obtain their email or phone number, and you can call them and speak to them directly.
Right, separate to that, just generally, if you wish to make a complaint anonymously to a Garda station, do you have to give your name and number, or can you make a complaint anonymously?
No, Greg, you're not obliged to provide your name or number when you call a station, although you will be requested to provide it just as a matter of procedure. If you want to remain anonymous, just tell the call taker this. So alternatively, you can call the confidential line on 1800 666 111.
Yeah, okay. Right now, a bike safe information event is coming up soon. We heard about these last week. Very beneficial, even to people who've been on the road for quite some time, I'm told.
Absolutely, yeah. This is taking place at the Diamond, Donegal Town on Sunday, August 11th, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So Garda cyclists from the regional roads policing units in Double Castle will be there, along with local advanced motorcyclists. So we'll encourage all motorcyclists who are free on that day to come along and have a chat.
Right, okay, now, updates. Because it's always good to get these. It's not always possible, but some good news from an operational perspective.
Yeah. So as part of Operation Tara, Gardaí attached to the Divisional Drugs Unit seized €2,440 suspected cannabis, €1,315 in cash, an air pistol and drugs paraphernalia, and arrested one man during the course of a search at a residence in the Letterkenny area on the 30th of July this year. So the drugs will now be sent to Forensic Science Ireland to undergo analysis. The arrested man has since been released on charge, and the investigations are still ongoing.
There's more too, isn't there? There was another advancement as part of Operation Target.
Yeah, that's it. That's placed on the 31st of July. So again, the Donegal Divisional Drugs Unit to seize a vehicle suspected to be involved in the commission of retail thefts. A man was arrested and charged in connection with the investigation. So he'll appear in court later at date. Investigations are still ongoing here as well.
Yeah, and any information, of course, in relation to retail thefts are asked to contact Letterkenny Garda Station or the confidential line, or in fact, any Garda Station. And some updates on some appeals from last week.
Yeah, there were two appeals in relation to two recent burglaries in Letterkenny town, one at Castle Street and one in Market Square. A man has since been arrested and questioned in relation to these incidents. He was charged to appear in court in connection with one of the incidents. Further investigation is ongoing in relation to the other, and we thank the public for all the assistance they give us.
I love the updates, but obviously often for operational purposes or what have you, they can't always be given, so it's good to get that information. Sean, thanks very much as always.
You're welcome, Greg. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. God, Sean Sweeney there. That was Community Guard information for this Tuesday, the 6th of August. It'll be available for you to rewatch on our socials and on the Garda Síochána page, Donegal page. That is a little later on. You can listen back to the podcast, of course, which will be available from 12:30 on highlandradio.com. Or you've heard enough and you just want to hear another episode. That's next week after the 10 o'clock news here on Highland Radio. Sean, again, thank you very much indeed. Back with more after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
You know that guy I've been seeing?
Yeah?
Turns out my sister's been seeing him too.
Oh, really?
And I heard he's been seeing Siobhan at number 56. And Declan.
Your brother?
Yep.
Specsavers opticians and audiologists own their stores, so your care is their business, which can make them rather popular.
I've got something to tell you. I've got half an hour with him this afternoon.
Specsavers, your care is our business.
Big Band Country Nights continue at Logues of Cranford this Tuesday with Mick Flavin and his band. That's another big country night this Tuesday with Mick Flavin at Logues of Cranford. You'll also find music in the Wee Bar on Saturday and old-time dancing every Sunday.
iMotors are now carrying the largest range of pre-owned cars in the Northwest.
Don't settle for just any car. Choose the one that suits your style and budget.
Visit imotors.ie to explore our extensive range with 20 plus brands to choose from and find your next car today.
Or call into our showroom in Letterkenny or Malin.
iMotors, fearless generation.
You join us for the world final Chip Sizzle Freestyle contest, and the team from Charlie's Chips are in the lead. What a team, look at them go. They're coming up to the finishing pan, and once again, Charlie's Chips are the winners. Served with mouth-watering burgers, fresh battered fish, or delicious chicken. And there's a great selection of gluten-free options now also on the menu. All available to take away or sit in Tuesday to Saturday from 12 to 8. When the hunger hits, pull into Charlie's on Pierce Road, Letterkenny.
All right, still quite a few comments coming in on speed and speed limits and proposals to reduce speed limits. Consultation ongoing at the moment as it relates to local roads. How can I get a speed limit outside a school that's 80 kilometres an hour reduced, asks a caller. I think often it depends on what kind of a road it's on as to who is responsible. Give us some more information, and maybe there are others that agree with you and it can start a campaign. Who's to say? You can contact local public representatives as well in your area. They might be able to give you some further advice in relation to that. Any plans to reduce speed limits? A caller says this is more about money for the government, more speeding tickets. It will soon be, if you're travelling to Dublin, you'll have to leave the day before to get there. Now, as I say, there's not a blanket reduction in speed limits. Well, you could argue for the most part on L roads there are. But we're going to be asked what our opinion is on regional roads and other roads next year. As it relates to motorcyclists parking on the diamond, it's one of those issues you wouldn't think people are that invested in, but lots of people are. These bucks making decisions re motorbike parking and these other decisions can't be easily identified. They were pastel shaded 3/4 length trousers and possibly the jumper tied around their shoulders. I'm not sure that's how they're dressed, but I see where you're trying to come from. We're in Donegal Town, or we were in Donegal Town on Sunday. There were motorbikes in the diamond and they were not doing any harm, says the listener. And Greg, can you please ask an engineer what plans the council have for the Letterkenny to Glenties Road? Dangerous surfaces and bridges, thanks. That comes up time and time again. I do know some of the bridges you're talking of, and they do come up specifically at Letterkenny Town Council meetings and the full council meetings. And I do also know there are other stretches of that road that people have concerns on or about. Now, Councillor Fionnán Bradley joins me on the show now. Good morning to you. Thanks for your time today.
Morning, Greg. How are you? Thank you
good.
for the opportunity to come on, and good morning to your listeners.
Yeah, now you're calling on the Health Service Executive to engage in order to provide respite services for children and adults with special educational and additional needs. Is this an urgent request, the fact that we're in the school holidays, I suppose, or is it about what's available going forward too?
Oh, both, Greg, indeed. And in fact, what I'm calling for is more than just respite services. I mean, here in the Inishowen Peninsula, and in particular on the Swilly side of the peninsula and the wider Buncrana area, there are absolutely no respite services or residential services or facilities for children and young adults with special needs and additional needs. And I mean, in Buncrana town itself, in Scoileasagun and indeed in Scoilwara, we have a primary and a secondary school that are top class leaders in providing care and education for our children with special needs. And we would have children that come from all over the peninsula to both those schools. So there's most certainly a need there, but it's not been addressed at the minute.
Yeah, and this time of year can be particularly challenging. Of course, every child, young adult is different, but the summer recess can be particularly challenging.
Absolutely, Greg. I mean, so in my professional life, I would be a teacher of children with special and additional educational needs, so I kind of know the issue fairly well firsthand. And any change in routine at all, for some of these children, even within the school day itself, can be very, very upsetting and can cause quite a lot of anxiety and stress to them. So certainly school holidays, but in particular the summer holidays, because they're so long, the routine is completely broken for them. They're no longer putting on their school uniform in the morning. The bus and the bus escort are no longer coming to the house to collect them. They're not seeing their friends. They're not seeing their teachers and SNAs and the familiar faces and that. It might be difficult for most teenagers, but it's particularly difficult for those children and teenagers that have additional needs.
And their caregivers as well, because, a lot of us maybe take for granted the ability just to jump in the car and go shopping, but often the care provided needs to be 24-hour, 365 days per year. And that's, without a break or without respite, an incredible toll on parents and caregivers.
Absolutely, Greg. And I mean, we all take for granted doing very basic things, maybe on a daily or weekly basis, like a shopping, for example, or maybe going to get your hair done or whatever it might be, going to a medical appointment. But for the families and the carers of these children and young adults who have additional needs, sometimes those things are nearly impossible, or maybe indeed are impossible. Again, some children who have autism and whatever maybe don't mix well in certain settings. Noise can upset them, or certain lighting can upset them. So maybe taking them to a supermarket just isn't possible. They're just not there yet and whatever. And indeed other occasions, like, for example, maybe family weddings or any type of family event or engagement. Quite often, the families and the caregivers of these children and young adults have to miss out on those occasions.
And also, too, what it does, it puts awful pressure on them, because often maybe, the child or young adult we're talking about has siblings, and parents are terribly, I don't know what the correct word is, but it's very challenging, because they also want to be able to provide experiences for the siblings of a child that might have additional needs, but because the child I talk of requires such attention from the parents, there's no break at all, no respite to allow them maybe to give the child's or young adult siblings other opportunities, if that makes sense.
Oh, you're absolutely correct, Craig. And I mean, some of these children and young adults might have, we'll say, abnormal sleep patterns. In some cases, they might go for 2 or 3 days without sleeping, or they might sleep every night for 3 hours a night, or they might have a broken night's sleep tonight and a full sleep tomorrow night, and there's no rhyme or reason with it. And even very simple things like that puts added stress and strain on the carers and on the families. And I really want to say, Greg, particularly in relation to 2 organisations we have here in Buncrana, in the Cash and the Core Centre and an iCare, they are absolutely top class. And I mean, I could not possibly give both organisations enough praise for the work that they do. And in ways, they offer a type of respite. So, I mean, while the school is closed in the summer, for the younger children and adults with additional needs, the like of iCare is open, and they're well able to go and use the facilities there. And that sort of brings a bit of routine, and indeed it gives the families and carers a bit of respite.
Okay.
But unfortunately, the HSE aren't stepping up to the plate, and they're not providing what we really need. What we really, really need here in this part of the world is long-term residential care facilities, because particularly maybe with Cash in the Core, it having been set up so long ago, quite a lot of the families who were there when it was set up and who did the founding of it, they're maybe getting on in age now, and indeed so too are the adults that use that service, and maybe their care has become more complex, and they might have additional medical requirements now and one thing or another that they didn't have, we'll say, 10 or 15 years ago. So we really do need that long-term residential care facility.
And also
that maybe would offer
as well what can happen, and it has happened, and I know of situations where it happens, that parents or a parent, the situation can get so difficult with the lack of respite support that they end up having to engage with TUSLA. Because for some people, it just, for many people, it's just, I don't think unless you're affected by it, you realise how enduring it is and how constant it is. And people hit a wall. And next thing you know, I would know that TUSLA ends up having to almost, in a way, offer a form of respite because the situation is so challenging.
Indeed, and I mean, you've touched on a very important point there, Greg, and it's that the families and the carers, maybe they're so quiet, going about their business, providing the care that they do provide to their family members. In my opinion, they don't make enough noise and enough fuss about this particular issue, and I think maybe generally the wider public doesn't realise how important and how far-reaching it is, and how serious it is for those families and those children and adults who have the additional needs as well,
So, what is a situation, or what do the HSC do or offer when they would accept that, a person is entitled to respite or should be getting respite? Do they say, sorry, we don't have the resources? Like, what's your experience? I know you cited one ridiculous situation where respite was offered in Dublin, which is actually more insulting than not offering any respite at all. But, is there any rhyme or reason coming from the HSC as to why they're not able to provide the services which they're actually mandated to do? We shouldn't forget that too. Sometimes you talk about the HSC as if it's stuff we'd like them to do, but they work for us and they have a remit, and they're not delivering on that remit at the moment, and no one's really responsible. You don't know who makes the decisions. No one's going to lose their job over the head of this. I'm not looking for a head and a stick, but do you know what I mean? It's this faceless executive that's responsible for doing this stuff for us, for our children and young people. They don't, and yet we sit here sort of saying we wish they would. I find that frustrating. But anyway, what's going on here, Fionn? What's the gap? They recognise some people need respite, but it's not there. What do they say? Do we know?
No, no, we don't, because they just seem to maintain radio silence on it largely, Greg. And again, maybe to sort of be slightly repetitive, I personally believe that that's because of the work the families do. They feel, I would imagine, that all the families will provide the care anyway. They're doing it, and they'll just continue to do it, and life will rumble on, But I think it's time now for us to say, listen, no, stop. This really isn't good enough. The need is most certainly there. Look at, again, the two schools that I've mentioned, and they're not the only the schools, but those two in particular. Look at the number of children and young adults who have additional needs. Look at the level and type of need, and very, very, very quickly a picture will begin to emerge that this service is missing, and it's needed now, if not yesterday.
And it came up in a conversation on Friday with the lovely mother as well, to what a lot of parents are dealing with here is that as their child becomes a late teen or into their 20s, what's the plan for when they're not about as well? So not only is there this immediate issue with trying to get respite, a little bit of space to either focus on yourself, attend a function, or to maybe spend some time with other siblings, but also to, where can you have the faith in the state to step in and assist, God forbid, if you're not there anymore. And that causes great pressure on parents, and it affects their mental and physical health as well.
It does, and you're absolutely correct, and that's why I think we've gone beyond respite care. Even when I began to think about this issue, before I was elected and during the course of the election campaign, in my head I thought respite would help so many of these families, and it would plug that gap. But from talking to the families on the doors and indeed in private conversations, I very quickly came to the realisation, just what you're saying, that no, we need a longer term solution here. These parents are inevitably, like like us all, please God, are going to get older and get frail and infirm and maybe develop their own health problems and complications and get to a stage where they just can't look after the children, or indeed they'll pass on, and these children and young adults will then be left. And it is a terrible worry and a terrible fear on those parents and those families, wondering what will happen to their loved one after they've passed on. So that's why respite just doesn't cut it anymore. We do need the short-term respite, but we absolutely need the long-term residential facilities as well. And I think it's vitally important that we get them here in the wider Buncrana area, because these children and these young adults have grown up here and they're familiar with the area. They might have gone to school and have friends here, they'll have other family here. Quite a number of them are known very well within the wider community, and quite often the children who have additional needs will be very, very friendly and sociable, and maybe saying hello to everybody they meet, and people get to know them that way. So it'll be very important that they're able to stay here, you know, and that they don't have to go elsewhere.
And Fionnán, it's clear you're very passionate about this and very informed, and I know you threw the challenge down to sometimes you threw the challenge down to that we need to be making a little bit more noise on this. But it can't be ignored either that you are a member of Fianna Fáil and you have a minister in your constituency and you have a party in government. And I mean, can you assure the people that whilst you call on them to do their bit, that you're going to be making the noises within your own party to try and affect change and to get answers? Because you can make contact with Minister McConaughey's office requesting, a comment from the minister responsible in this regard. You know, I think the public, and I'm sure you are, but the public expect that from you as well.
Well, listen, absolutely. And Greg, the reason why I ran for elected office was to try and do what little I can to affect change. Very, very easy to sit on the sideline and shout in and say about everything that should be done, but what are you actually going to do about it? So that was the very reason that I ran for elected office. And I mean, Fianna Fáil's record in government is very, very good in relation to special needs care. And again, I'll reference this particular area. We had the Minister for Education, Minister Foley, here in May, and she was announcing the extension at that time for the aforementioned Scoilwara for purpose-built special needs classrooms and sensory rooms and facilities basically for special needs children.
I wasn't having a go, and I understand that you're going to defend the record, and I get that, and I'm really not trying to give you a hard time. It's just getting a commitment from you that you'll be pursuing this as well through your channels, because you do have good access, Fionnán, and I think you've said that you will, which is just all I'm sure the listeners want to know. That sounds terrible, like I'm saying they don't want to know everything else. I don't mean it badly. I think you know what I'm saying, Councillor. Listen, thanks for your time and putting it across so well. I do appreciate it, all right? That's Councillor, Inishowen Councillor Fionnán Bradley there. Any views on that, let us know. 086 60 25,000. Maybe you're a family affected. Maybe you don't have the time to speak to me if you are, but maybe you do want to share your situation or your story to help us try and move things forward and progress things as well. Now, I was contacted by Eugene, who says that they're organising a social night for Donegal Mental Health Services on Friday the 6th of September. There's going to be a 7 p.m. drinks reception in the foyer, dancing to Sailor Bill, a buffet served and spot prizes. And what's lovely about this is this event is for all disciplines of staff that have worked in the past and in the present in St. Connell's and through community services. So it is a night out if you can. So it's a Donegal Mental Health staff past and present social evening in the Mount Errigal Hotel, 7 p.m. drinks reception, music by Sailor Bill, and lots of spot prizes and all that type of stuff. Tickets are on sale soon, but it's just to stick a note in your diary for that night in case you need to book a babysitter or something. It's Friday the 6th of September, and I had a lovely chat with Eugene when we were out, and we were chatting in the Goose and Gander, actually, in Downings, and he says he was torturing me. Eugene, you weren't torturing me. I love that. And anyone who wants to come up for a chat, please feel free to do so. I was chatting to another lovely lady in Dunlow at the weekend. And she's, I'm not going to say much because I don't have all the facts, but she's doing great work in raising awareness, in some cases, and money for charity. And she says, Greg, any chance of getting on? I says, no problem, because that's what we do here. It's good. We try and support as much as we can. And also to Cancer Care West, there's a big event coming up. and Noel Cunningham's involved. We're going to be talking about that in the next few days, but I'm going to be taking part in a section of it, and for the first time, and I feel bad or guilty about this, but in an effort to support the fantastic work that they do down there, I'm going to be asking for donations for me to take part in a bit of this walk. So if you could stick that in the back of your mind, as I say, I've never sort of rattled the bucket before, but as I say, it's such an important charity, and I was asked if I would, and I'm more than happy to do so. But as I say, it kind of goes against my nature to get the rattling bucket out. But anyway, in the next few days, we'll talk about that, and if any of you, we'll put links up and stuff, if ever you had a $5 or whatever it might be to sort of donate, we'd really appreciate that. So just maybe stick that in the back of your head if you don't mind. I feel bad, but you know yourself.
New this week in Home Store and More. All Rattan garden furniture sets and all outdoor cushions are all half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price Rattan garden furniture sets and all our half price outdoor cushions are gone, they're gone. Also, light up your garden with our extensive range of solar lights. 33% off all solar lights. That's right, 33% off all solar lights. Drop by your local Home Store and More or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Best staycation ever. One family, 60 minutes from home. 100 acres of stunning gardens. For, what's that tree called? 30-minute family picnic before the next adventure. 7 inflatable water slides, 6 belly flops, 15 belly laughs. One incredible day. Plan your best staycation ever at discoverireland.ie and experience the feeling of a holiday all in one day. Brought to you by Fóilte Ireland.
Ensure the safety of your team with SIFTech. We have part-funded courses in first aid, people moving and handling, confined spaces, food hygiene, quad bikes, fire warden, IPAF MUPS, electrofusion, welding and machinery cards for Ireland and UK sites. Also delivering online courses like utilities, water hygiene and construction supervisors. SIFTech can deliver group training at your business premises. To find out more, contact siftech.ie today.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhinney's. Support local at McElhinney's. With 53 years experience in fashion, beauty and home, we're here for you. Plus, enjoy M-Card rewards when you shop in-store at McElhinney's Ballybuffet.
Right, so a cloudy and rather blustery start with scattered showers drifting in a southwesterly breeze. The showers will become a little more isolated later with longer spells of sunshine following. Breezy overall though, with temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. It is the 9 till noon show, and our next guest is the chair with Mag. It's Lisa Hone. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. As always, good morning to you.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me on.
Right, now there is an expected visit to Donegal from the Housing Minister, Dara O'Brien, and renewing its call. You've made this call before. It's a renewed call, isn't it, on him to meet with homeowners who are affected?
Exactly. We've renewed this call. We've been asking for over a year since the revised scheme was implemented in July of 2023. For the Minister to come to Donegal and engage directly with those impacted by the defective concrete crisis. Effectively, all we're doing is asking him to follow through on what he's actually promised publicly. In the Doyle of this year, when asked on his views for the growing concerns of homeowners, and obviously, we were witness to some huge meetings in the recent past. He basically said that he was committed to working through the concerns. So we're basically just asking him to follow through with action on his words.
And the narrative out there is that, they believe it to be a good scheme. It's a scheme that can be adjusted and to grow to meet the needs of those who might access it. And I suppose it's to sit down and look into his eyes and sort of find out what that actually means. Because it's a good soundbite and it kind of pushes the story down the line for another week, but yet we still return to the same sort of questions and issues and concerns.
Yeah, well, we've had the scheme in place for over a year now. So we have the very real and lived experience of the homeowners who are trying to navigate the scheme. So what we're asking is that he meets with impacted homeowners in a public forum. What we don't want is necessarily just kind of, a meeting with 2 or 3 people. What we want is him to feel and understand the anxiety, the stress, the dilemmas. Like, there's people who are entitled to go forward in the scheme and they can't go forward in the scheme either because of literally practical measures, as in physical impediments, which are stopping them go forward, or financial issues. There's a whole plethora of stuff. So it's very ingenuous of, the minister. He's done a review, which was a nice little cozy review that he seems to have done with, basically internally within government departments. And he's saying he's satisfied. Well, there's a massive disconnect between that and what is going on on the ground, and the letters we have and conversations that we have on a daily basis with homeowners trying to navigate this scheme. And he needs to get real, and he needs to come into a room of homeowners who are living and breathing this every day, stressed out, and just hear from them directly all the different scenarios. There's a lot of issues. There's some fundamental flaws with the scheme right now. And for him to say he's satisfied, I mean, what planet is the man living on?
So obviously the Mike Action Group is going to be most vocal about flaws in this scheme. And there are many been highlighted, and we'll go through some of the key concerns actually in a moment, if that's okay, just to remind people. But it's said that it is a good scheme, that it works for many people, that for the majority of people it'll cover the costs of rebuilding the home. It's an active scheme. People are working through it. Is that true? Is this scheme good for a lot of people? And really what we're talking about is a minority of people for whom it doesn't work very well.
Well, what we're finding on the ground, Greg, is that there is a deficit with regards to the financials. So even if you're coming in under the cap with your square meterage, there's still a gap between what you actually get from the grant and the real costs that you're going to have to pay with the market today. So that's the first thing. So even if you're going through and you've got maybe a smaller property that sits well within the cap, there's still real challenges there. And, one of the most distressing things about this scheme is it really is not taking into account those who have already difficult and extenuating circumstances. So we've got people who are dealing with, or have people disabled in their families. They cannot progress forward because the scheme doesn't give them sufficient flexibility. Say, for example, the side-by-side building that we've asked for so many times. There is no good reason not to do this, yet they won't do it. There is people with illnesses, elderly people who may be more frail. They're just not fit to go through this process, which is fundamentally why, the operation of the scheme doesn't work for so many people. Now, the people who are going through, I know people are obviously going through and they're demolishing and they're rebuilding the homes. But even those people have, they have put in a lot of their own resource. So, and they're trying to push forward because, this situation is wrecking their head, basically. They can't stand it a moment longer. So they're doing absolutely everything they can.
But and we'll get through some more of the issues, but just to reiterate that question, Are the majority of people with certain sized homes able to access and work through the scheme? Are they, or are the majority of people the scheme doesn't work for them?
From what we're hearing on the ground, Greg, and that's all I can go from, is that everybody is challenged by this scheme. And it's the people who maybe have the resource, whether that be financial, whether physical, whether it be, they have skills with regard to construction or know somebody who can help them out in that regard. They are the people who are getting through. We've got people who are absolutely entitled to go through the scheme. They are living in modest houses, yet they can't go through because we've got issues with cash flow. You have got to have a substantial amount of cash up front to be able to navigate this scheme, because you have to put down deposits, you've got to pay things and services up front. And as we know, the scheme reimburses retrospectively. So again, if you can't access that kind of lump sum to be able to put forward deposits, etc., again, you can't move forward. And I mean, this is something that the Bank and Insurance Group have fought so hard for. The BPFI wholeheartedly agreed with where they were coming from. But again, the department has basically just pushed that to one side. They say they're listening, but actually they're not acting. They've had that proposal from the BPSI now for absolutely months, and they've not acted upon it. So again, we're asking the minister to basically act upon his words. That's what, to follow through with the words. He says he's committed to working through concerns. So that's what we want to see. And we want to see it done in a public forum so that he really understands the plethora of issues that people are having to deal with at the moment.
What is the biggest issue at the moment? Obviously, there's been an awful lot of coverage lately of people on the scheme having their option downgraded from full demolition to one of the other options. Is that the key issue at the moment, or is it just actually a suite of issues?
I think it's one of them, but I think what it points to is the absolutely fundamental issue of the right science being used. I mean, this just goes to the heart of the scheme. And, until IS 465 is actually based on the scientific evidence that we now have with regard to internal sulfate attack, so making the right call in terms of eliminating this issue from people's lives, ensuring that the houses are properly restored for posterity, not a kind of, we'll see how it goes, and using homeowners as guinea pigs. Nobody knows going forward, if you've got a partial remediation, whether you're going to be able to remortgage, insure, or even sell your house. It is that to me is one of the absolute fundamental issues. It's one of the foundations of the scheme, and it has to be got right, because nobody going through the scheme, unless you are literally ripping everything out, can be guaranteed that when you've gone through that restoration process, that you're going to be on the right side of things.
And an interesting figure in the letter to the minister, even using what I think is quite a conservative number of houses affected by this in total. To date, there's been 0.57 houses restored, 0.57%, and as I say, that's off a figure of 7,500, which I think is. Listen, I know lots of people waiting to see what happens, and they haven't even got to the point yet of getting the engineer out. Okay, Lisa, thank you for that. We'll track and see what comes of it. I do appreciate your time as always. Have a good day.
Thanks, Greg.
Bye-bye. Take care. Lisa Hone there, chair with the Micah Action Group. Just to remind you, of course, 08660 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. I think David James is out and about today, by the way. We'll give you details of that a little later on. I think it's at the Clonmany Agricultural Show. So if you're about, make sure to pop in and say hello to them. A comment here: government should have increased facilities before or soon after allowing so many people into 26 little counties, or made some effort to house all people living under threat of mica. They can get off scot-free. Thank you, Mary, with that message. All right, we're going to take a break because we're heading towards the news at 11.
Get ready for the 55th Clonmany Agricultural Show at Pollen Green this Tuesday and Wednesday, August 6th and 7th. Experience action-packed fun for the whole family with thrilling livestock exhibitions, sheepdog trials and celebrity chef demos by Brian McDermott, Shane Smith and Nevin Maguire. Enjoy live music, jiving competitions, fashion shows and makeup demos by McElhinney's of Ballybuffet. Plus, don't miss the pet shows and much more. The Clonmany Agricultural Show this Tuesday and Wednesday.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
Bon Appetit Foods is Donegal's largest high-quality, low-calorie, high-protein meals. Also providing traditional dinners, main courses, side orders, soups and sauces. Available in over 200 retailer stores in the northwest of Ireland and nationwide. Bon Appetit is the winner of the 2023 Donegal Foods Coast Award, bringing you quality, convenience and value for money. Bon Appetit, a taste of Donegal.
Experience total relaxation in the Spa at Orchids at the Holyrood Hotel, Bundoran. Recently awarded Best Hotel Spa Getaway at the RSVP Spa Awards. Enjoy luxury spa baths, revitalizing facials, rejuvenating massages, pampering body treatments, outdoor hot tub and tranquil Japanese garden. Visit on a luxury spa day, pop in for some me time or buy the perfect present with a gift voucher. Relax and let the Spa at Orchids transport you to another world. See holyroodhotel.com.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, it's 11 o'clock. Time for a news update, and it's good morning once again to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Gardaí are investigating a collision involving a car and a van outside Clonmany on Friday night, after which the driver of the car involved left the scene. They're also investigating a single vehicle crash in the Cranford area in the early hours of this morning, which left a number of people in hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. More details on our website, highlandradio.com. A West Donegal councillor says Uisce Éireann continues to refuse to meet with local representatives, while people in Falcarragh, Gortahork and Intigudor and the Rosses are again without water because of reservoir and pumping station issues. Councillor Michael McLafferty says on Sunday and yesterday he sought water tankers and got no response. He says several businesses are now unable to function because they don't have a proper and sustainable water supply. Local Link says it's now in a position to progress the expanded and upgraded public transport service for Inishowen, with successful operators now notified after what they say was a robust procurement process. They hope to have these services up and running by mid-September, at which point they'll begin a retendering process for a smaller demand response type service that will operate door to door. Gardaí are investigating an alleged assault that occurred at Park Lane, Buncrana on Monday of last week between 6 and 6:15 p.m. A male and female youth are reported to have been assaulted by a woman and a male youth, sustaining non-life-threatening injuries. Gardaí are urging anyone that may have travelled in that area on Monday, July 29th with a dashcam to make that footage available to them. And global stocks rallied this morning after yesterday's steep declines triggered recession fears in the US. Monday began with a plunge reminiscent of 1987's crash that pummeled Wall Street as fears worsened about a slowing US economy. The Japanese Nikkei index rose more than 10% this morning after plunging 12% yesterday. The Irish share index climbed 1.14%, buoyed by banking and travel stocks. They're the headlines. Back with news headlines again at 12 noon.
Donald, thank you very much indeed. And we'll be talking to the interim CEO of the charities regulator after these.
Go all Aldi with summer barbecue sizzlers, now only $2.99 each, including specially selected Black Angus Ultimate 6-ounce beef burgers, Butcher Selection quick cooked chicken fillets and Butcher Selection pork belly strips, now only $2.99 each. And there's even more in store. All Board Bia quality assured. Go all Aldi while stocks last.
Now, if you wish to contact the programme, just a reminder for you, WhatsApps and text to 086 60 25,000 or give us a call on 07491 25,000. Did you know, I'm sure you did, Donegal has a huge number of charities. Behind Dublin and Cork, two major populated areas, of course, it has the highest number of any county, 515. The charities regulator, interim CEO, is Madeleine Delaney, and Madeleine's with us now. Hi, Madeleine. Good to chat to you again.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Nice to have you with us. Right, how important is it to have an overviewer, oversight over the charities industry? Because trust and faith, hugely important when people are parting, I suppose, with the hard-earned money.
That's correct, Greg. Yes. Irish people are very generous, both in terms of money, but in giving their time. And that's reflected in the numbers that you quoted there in relation to the number of charities in Donegal. But it is all based on trust. And what we're seeing is that trust and accountability and transparency is hugely important to the public and increasing all the time when they're thinking of donating to a charity. And the way that they can check for most charities, especially those small volunteer-only charities who don't have a big presence or a big website, is to actually check on the register of charities, which they can find at checkacharity.ie.
And more people are doing that, aren't they? Because I was curious. I'd be curious as to how many of us, actually take the time to check before we donate. But more of us are, aren't we?
Yes, indeed. We've seen the figures go up by almost 90% in the last year. And that's a reflection of the fact that people do want to find out more and understand that you need to be on the register of charities if you're going to call yourself a charity or collect money as a charity. And the best way of checking that is on the register.
And why is it important? It's obvious, but I think worth mentioning. Why is it important that people check if they've got any doubt?
It's important because charities, as you've pointed out, they're subject to supervision by us, the charities regulator. That means that we oversee whether they are complying with charity law, whether they're filing annual reports, but we also engage extensively with charities to help them ensure that they've good governance, which means that they're using the money for the purpose for which it's given. And that's very important.
And the word charity, it's very relatable. We know what it means and all that, but it's quite significant in and of itself in its use.
It is indeed. You can't call yourself a charity unless you're on the register of charities. You can't let people believe that you're a charity or collect money letting people believe that you're a charity. That's actually an offence under the Act. So in many ways, charity in Ireland is a protected term. It's one type of not-for-profit, but it's the only type of not-for-profit that is subject to our supervision.
And with that in mind, we refer to charities as registered charities. They might reference themselves as such in documentation, but the reality is those two words must always be present. You can't be a charity unless you are registered.
That's correct. People call themselves registered charity or they call themselves charity. But what is common to them is that they must be up on our register. They must have what's called a registered charity number, which is something that they should be displaying and which you can ask for. It's another way of checking whether they are on the register.
Is there any issues whereby someone may fundraise for a charity? If you know what I mean. They're not the charity, and maybe even the charity's not endorsing their fundraising. But is that a grey or problematic area, or is it fine?
It's fine as long as the person is clear about who they are collecting for, and that there are controls in place to show that the money that they collect goes to that registered charity and then is used for the purposes for which they collect it. Because there are charities, particularly the bigger ones, who can carry out a range of different activities, some of which you may agree with more than others. And if you've given funding for that particular purpose, it must be used. But it's quite legitimate for people to fundraise and not be a charity themselves, provided they're satisfied that the organisation that they are giving the money to is a registered charity and is up to date with its obligations, in particular in relation to filing an annual report with the charities regulator.
What we see more and more now is iDonate pages or GoFundMe pages. There are other platforms as well that pop up for a number of reasons. And I think it seems 99% of it's all very legit and it's all going to the right place. But then they do come in for scrutiny and, well, that money's being used for this, that and that. They're not charities, but how damaging do you believe potentially is if there is this sense of distrust of these fundraising platforms, then that could have a knock-on effect and sully the reputation of the registered charities?
Well, I think there's a lot that the registered charities can do to make sure that it's clear, again, by posting their name, their registered charity number, they can show that they are different from the other organisations and from the people collecting. These platforms are used quite legitimately, again, by a lot of local volunteer-only charities. They're a good forum for raising money, but it's all about the transparency and accountability. So again, we would just say to people, if you're looking to donate time or money or services, and you see something on a GoFundMe page, just go on to checkacharity.ie and check very quickly that the organisation is on the register.
Obviously the regulator is to keep charities in line and to make sure everything that should be being done is being done, annual returns, checks on governance and all that type of stuff. I'm just curious, how often do you have to get involved? How often do we see a situation whereby, a charity maybe is not adhering to the rules as it should?
Thankfully, Greg, it's quite rare, but it does happen. Most charity trustees work very hard and do succeed in being well governed and complying with the Act. But there are some instances where we have to take more formal action, such as where we appoint inspectors, and that's a matter of public record where we're carrying out an investigation into the affairs of the entity. And then more recently, unfortunately, due to this concerning failure about charities filing their annual report, we've had to take a small number of prosecutions, and we've also had to remove some charities from the register.
There have been some quite big controversies over the years. Time has passed now, and people might hope and feel that the whole area has been tightened up a little bit. Do we track the public faith in charities, from its highs to when there might be a period of bad publicity? We're in a good space at the moment, I presume.
We're in a good space at the moment. We do a survey, a major survey every 2 years, and that is showing that it's tracking upwards fairly steady. But they keep coming back to this accountability and transparency, and they want to be able to see either on the organisation's own website, Facebook page, or on our register what is actually happening with their money. That gives them a lot of comfort. It is fair to say that it is only the small number of charities where something goes wrong, and that happens in every walk of life. But it is a big concern then that it does have a dent on trust and confidence. But, people are very resilient, charities are very resilient, and they continue to not just volunteer money, but also more and more of their time. And that's very important for the sector.
Do you think it's made clear enough, the difference between different charities? Like you might have a charity that has, quite a number of really quite high paid people at the head of it. You know what I mean? Do you think that's clear enough? I know it comes out in annual figures, and I've tried to dig around myself, and you go into a report, then it's a PDF, and then you have to scroll down, and it's on page 48 of a PDF, and then it's and then it's carried over from this, and it's sometimes it can't be clear, or I don't think it's clear enough that the payment structure, at the top table of a charity. Is that something that comes up, or is that something you think could be made a little bit more obvious to the public?
Yeah, it is something that comes up. I suppose the first thing that's important to say is that it is legitimate for a charity to pay people, to employ people, to buy goods, to rent office, to buy supplies, to provide services. That's all very necessary. What they have to do is make sure that they're not paying above the odds, that they're doing things in an open, transparent way, that they're running open competitions, that they're getting quotes from different providers, and in relation to salaries, that they're benchmarking them. And that's all that we can ask them to do. I do think, though, that the more transparent an organisation is about all its costs, including its salaries, the better, because people will trust more if they feel that something isn't hidden. So we would always encourage charities to be as transparent as possible in relation to salaries and other expenditure.
And in terms of the service it provides, and I'm thinking, maybe particularly, time sensitive ones. I'll use the example of mental health for an example. If you had a charity whereby, a number of people might say, well, I contacted this charity and there was no availability and something along those lines, right? Do you have any function in that whatsoever?
No, not in relation to service provision, unless there's something that's a breach of the law or governance isn't right, but just in relation to them being overstretched, that isn't something that we have jurisdiction over.
Did anything change with the recent changes to the Charities Act? It was amended in 24.
That's correct. Correct. It was just signed into law by the President in July, so it hasn't commenced yet. But there are some significant changes in there. For example, one of the changes, to go back to what you were talking about the salaries and being able to find information. At the moment, there's a different regime applicable to whether you're a company or whether you're an individual charity. That's going to change, which is very important. But also there will be the provision for the Minister to bring in regulations, which will say the type of accounts that you will have to prepare and file. So everybody will have to prepare the same type of information and display the same type of information, which will be more specific to charities as opposed to just general organisations. So that's very important. It's also the case that these the fundamental responsibilities of charity trustees, those volunteers who do such important work. They will be set out in the Act, and that's for clarity so that people understand what they're getting into and what they're obliged to do, and they will be in there. And then our powers are being modified so that rather than just having to take a prosecution or remove a charity, we will be able to take intermediate sanctions, which will be a little bit of a softer approach while we try and get those charities who don't comply following engagement to comply without actually having to take more drastic action.
All right, and if people want more information or to check the charities register, well, where do they go?
They go to checkacharity.ie.
All right, thank you very much, Madeline. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, take care of yourself. Bye-bye. That's the Charities Regulator, Interim CEO Madeline Delaney. Any views on that, let us know. 086 60 25,000 or give us a call on 07491 25,000.
If you're heading off on holidays, why not treat yourself to a pair of designer sunglasses? At Louis Walsh Opticians, you'll find a full range of top name sunglasses at great prices, so you'll look your best while your eyes are properly protected. For a sight test with an OCD 3D scan, contact lenses, or a driver's sight report, Louis Walsh Opticians, Letterkenny's longest established and family-run opticians, are located in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. Call 91 21000.
We have amazing mega value offers this week at your local Centra. Like Inspired by Centra sirloin steaks, 454 gram, only €8. Pringles Selected Range, 165 gram, 174 each. And McGuigan Black Label Selected Range, €8 each. Whatever the weather, Centra has you covered. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
Darren knows these roads. He knows every turn, every tree, every person's house. He knows when he wants to put his foot down. But here's something he doesn't know. He doesn't know that Jim is searching for his phone and has taken his eye off the road, just around the corner ahead. Darren doesn't know this, but they're both about to find out very quickly. Even if you know the road, you don't know what's coming. Say no to speeding. A message from the Road Safety Authority. Visit rsa.ie.
Make great photos into beautiful gifts at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Different gift ideas include canvas prints, freestanding or ready-to-hang art blocks, and personalised photo books, perfect to mark any occasion. There's also jigsaws, calendars, mugs, and much more. For details, visit mcgees.ie. Turn your favourite moments into something truly special with McGee's Chemist Letterkenny.
Shekelatha ama Highland Radio. Arna Dortugat ag Airgrid. Uproar agus forbor ango letrahas na Héireann. Airgrid. Pobal a guachtu, era a guachtu. Teshe.
It's 16 minutes past 11. Stephen Doherty joins us on the programme now. Stephen, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How you doing?
Not too bad at all. Stephen, you're behind a series of gigs taking place in Eberton Square in Derry. They're going ahead, but there is some sort of question marks or concerns over the use of this facility. For those completely unaware, can you sort of give us the background?
Well, on the past, there were a couple of events. There were 5 in total scheduled this year. And for different reasons, our events didn't go ahead. Our events was moved elsewhere. And myself and 2 other guys, Gary Kern and Martin Strawbridge, was doing this one day in the month. It's a mixture of everything regarding the square in the past and the negativity and everything else. We just sort of want to move on to the positivity. We're about the future. And just to reassure the public that the events are going ahead. And we need the public support as well. Ourselves and the executive office and the council have been working hard with our promoters to plan for the next couple of years to bring bigger and better acts back to the square and back to where it's been in the past.
The council, in a comment, said that they are committed for this site to be used for large-scale events, but they're calling on those behind them, the promoters as they're called, to provide the council with written confirmation of acts at least 6 months in advance. As someone sort of who works in this area, do you think that's fair? Is that reasonable?
Oh, it is. I say we've been working with them in the background. Like, we've only got 9 months' notice this time, and the council's acknowledged that we need 2-3 year plan, and they are working on it. 6 months out, there's no issue as long as we have a year to 2 years to plan that, to get everything in place. 6 months it's doable, very much so.
And this is a cracking site for big events. You would be of the view.
It's one of the best out there in the whole to north and south.
So what needs to be done? I know you sort of touched on this, but there's talk of investment and maybe a bit of a safety net for promoters and what have you. So what might that look like?
Well, you can see that there's been our people put notes out there like £100,000. Our problem would be to bring a big act there. You need 6,000 people on the site, average of £50 a ticket. What happens if only 5,000 tickets are sold? It's the promoter lends out the downfall.
Yeah.
But the city in general, it looks well for them. Some type of shortfall. The council, they've done it before in different ways in the jazz festival, things got there. They are, again, I have to say, the council and the clubs are working on the background ahead. And they'll hopefully by September, October time, there will be something in place for this.
Yeah.
But again, it's an application form and it's a process.
It's all about scale. Like, it's everything's different scale. Like, if you take it down to a really small festival in a small village, you would ask local businesses who might benefit from that to contribute because the rising tide lifts all boats. This is just scaling it up, whereby you're seeing an entire city benefit from it, and you just want to share the potential losses. I mean, you hope they wouldn't be there, but and it would give, I presume, more confidence to promoters to come in on the site.
Yes, 100%. That's all. Basically, that's all we're looking for.
What's coming up? What's coming up later this month?
So this month, we're on a Friday night. It's Foyle Tribute Festival. We're doing it in aid of Foyle Search and Rescue, Foyle Hospice, and Foyle Pride. It's a list of different tribute acts from all over the UK as well. Then on the Saturday night, hello?
Yes, Stephen, I'm waiting to hear what's happening on Saturday night.
Sorry. On the Saturday night, it's R&B Festival. It's all DJs. We have Shorty Blitz, Conferences, Ronnie Herald, Firing Squad, DJ Woody. We have a couple of local DJs as well, Type 1, Double C, Locky.
Nice.
Then on the Sunday night, we have Back to the 80s with Nick Kershaw, Tenny Crisis, Kapal, and a few others. As well on the Sunday night, on the Friday and the Sunday, it's family friendly. So they're basically family. It's different zones. So the ways basically teenagers can come and watch the events in a safe place, separate entrances, separate toilets, separate facilities.
Brilliant. Well,
so it's looking up to be a good weekend on all.
Yeah, and as you said too, I mean, obviously working with the council and other agencies and business and stuff, but you actually do need the people in there as well to ensure these types of things at this scale can be held there. Yeah,
no, we've been working away with all the tenants in Everton Square, and they've been from start to finish. They've been all brilliant for us now. Anything we asked them to help, they've all done it.
All right, good stuff. Stephen, thanks for your time today.
Well, thanks, Steve.
Bye-bye. Stephen Doherty there of INN Events talking about what's needed to ensure Ebrington Square is used as it can be. One of the best venues out there, Stephen says, but also, of course, I suppose no harm giving a bit of a plug to what's coming up at the end of August, or the August Bank Holiday weekend in the north. A couple on holidays from Galway. They were in Dunloe yesterday evening, and the lady lost her wedding and engagement rings somewhere around the main street or in Sweeney's, Only's Bar or the Bridge Inn, as a few of the places they were in. If found, please contact us and as soon as possible, because the couple are going back to Galway today. So they're obviously out for an evening and went to a few different places. An engagement and wedding ring lost somewhere around the main street of Dunloe. Could be in Sweeney's, could be in Only's Bar, or even the Bridge Inn. Maybe any of the staff in there found them cleaning up at the end of the shift. Well, we can get them back to them. But you need to get in touch with us as soon as you can, because they're heading back to Galway. But anyway, even if it's after the fact, I'm sure we can get them to them. So did you find an engagement ring, wedding ring? Please let us know and we can pass it on. A caller says, I drove from Letterkenny to Dublin and back. No checkpoints. Was expecting a few with the big operation on at the weekend, says a listener. Well done to Fionnán Bradley, councillor, speaking up on behalf of special needs carers. Yet, yes, once again, Inishowen is being let down, and it is another disgrace. A caller says, we are a neutral country. Our children will not fight another man's war. We are neutral, I suppose, on paper. But I mean, if you look at the actions that are being taken, the decisions that have been made, our position in terms of taking sides, there's nothing neutral about that. Another, why does a carer looking after his parents get his carer's allowance cut? They cut his carer's allowance as he has some savings in the bank. Wow, you wouldn't think that should preclude or should lead to a cut like that. We're joined on the programme now by Councillor Albert Doherty. Thanks for your time, Albert. I do appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Greg. Yeah.
We're talking about Local Link and Local Link services. And Local Link has said it's now in a position to progress and expand the expanded and upgraded public transport service for Inishowen, with successful operators now notified after what was a robust procurement process. So what this effectively means, they've selected the services, they've put it out to tender, and they've got the successful tenders. Are you welcoming this, or do you believe there is an opportunity to broaden the service out, or what's the situation?
Well, I welcome, when I see the word progress, expanded and upgraded public transport for the peninsula, that's all very welcome. And, I want to compliment Local Link and their efforts there. I think that's an important word as well, but there's 5 areas where they have looked at and have 5 from the Inishowen area now delivering that service. So they're 952 Cairn to Derry, 953 Greencastle to Letterkenny, 954 Mallinhead to Carndonagh, 957 Greencastle to Derry, 959 Buncrana to Greencastle are now part of what they call their expanded, upgraded public transport. That's very welcome, Greg.
Yeah, and some of those, if you were getting, say, to Letterkenny or Derry, would require a bus change. Presumably it's being set out in such a way to facilitate that.
That's why I think the period kicking in September will be the period where we'll decide this is delivering, because I think the most critical word is the word link, and be it going to our colleges or training centres, be it in Letterkenny or Derry City, and leaving the peninsula, knowing that I can make a link when my classes or time is over and make my way back. This will all serve to help many, many families who have tough times financially, and also whose children sometimes find it tough to get digs in the Derry Letterkenny area.
Yeah, so they have to be arriving, for the majority of people that may use these, they have to be arriving or leaving at the correct times. That would make sense, because really, I suppose, too, the next part of the conversation is to use these services. I presume it was 5-year tenders that were put out. It doesn't guarantee the service for that length of time. They do need to be used as well.
Absolutely. I would be inviting people to check the PR now that Local Link have put up there. As well as that, we as a council, we need to continue to work with Local Link and make sure that there's proper facilities. For example, bus stop, bus shelter, Mobile's been mentioned before, where we do require one. So with all of these expansions and with the progress, we need to ensure too that there's safety and shelter for those who wish and who will use the service.
Because I found it quite interesting in a recent conversation talking about the Letterkenny bus service that's out for public consultation at the moment, and it seems the plan there is to have the infrastructure, bus stops and what have you, or even bus shelters in place, much of it in place before the services begin. It'd be nice to see something similar for Inishowen, because I can see this happening, more buses, people standing out in the rain, blah, 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 blah. Whatever infrastructure is required there, who's responsible for that? Is it the local authority?
Well, we in Donegal County Council have indeed a responsibility. However, I have seen where others, maybe from the economic or the commercial, have on times been there to sponsor and provide shelters. So we have to look at all stakeholders and ensure that when we're together, that the punter using the service is the winner.
These are additional services that hopefully will link the main population areas of Inishowen to, other main population areas outside of Inishowen. But there's also services that operate on a more localised basis, often can have an on-demand element to them. What's the situation in terms of them and the tendering process?
I think it was a very critical phrase at the end of the press release where they say that once these services are up and running, they will follow a retendering process for the smaller demand response type. And that's what I've met on many occasions, be it people coming from Buncrana towards Clonmany Oris, and they may live along a particular route, and it'll be up now to Local Link to respond to these demand response types that they receive, and I hope that is adequately looked after in a short period of time.
I don't have the links to hand, but a caller says, is Local Link starting a new service that would provide a bus in the morning to take people to Letterkenny Hospital from Clonmany? Maybe you've had a look at the links. Does that sound...
No, likewise, I haven't gone through, and that's another critical one, the transport to Letterkenny Hospital and the stops and
where they actually drop people off. You see,
where they
if they drop people off, where buses often do, the journey up that hill to Letterkenny University Hospital could be almost as much of a problem as getting from Clonmany to that location.
So I don't have the finger on the pulse and the minute details there, and that's something I can follow up on, Greg. All
right, okay. Thanks very much indeed, Councillor Albert Doherty there. So in the first instance, good news, I presume we'll see more areas of Inishowen linked together and linked to the likes of Derry and Letterkenny and elsewhere. But obviously then the detail, I'm going to avoid that phrase, the often used phrase. The detail is important here as to where people are dropped off and what times the buses are at. And we'll all look into that. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number. Or give us a call too on 07491 25,000. Right. I'm just writing in to send a big thank you to David Brady. On Saturday morning, as I was coming around the hospital roundabout in Letterkenny, my car broke down. Since I haven't been driving for very long, this was a very jarring experience. Thankfully, it was David behind me who came to my rescue. He not only helped me push my car around the roundabout and out of the way, but he also stayed with me while I waited for my friend to pick me up. Another man helped us push the car, though unfortunately I didn't catch his name. A big thank you to him as well. David stayed with me and comforted me as the shock wore off. I honestly don't know what I would have done without him. It's reassuring to know that there are people out there like him. Well done, David. Well done, the other guy. You made a difficult experience for a driver there, a new driver, manageable.
If you're painting outside your home or business premises, Watson Hire have a brilliant deal on Storm Shield exterior paint. Get 3 10-litre buckets of white Johnson's Storm Shield for $119.95, or 3 buckets of coloured Storm Shield for just $149.95. Johnson Storm Shield is rainproof in 20 minutes, ideal for the Donegal weather, and Watson's can mix thousands of colours. Call in and talk to the paint specialist for advice, and see loads more paint deals in store at Watson Hire, Lisnenan, Letterkenny.
Go full Lidl and upgrade your garden with 33% off the Grillmeister range on Lidl Plus. Like our ceramic barbecue, perfect for grilling, now $53.59. And our cosy gas fire pit, perfect for chilling, only €100.49. With 33% off way more while stocks last. Scan the Lidl Plus app and go full Lidl today.
I've been surfing all morning at FlemingLTD.com to find out about Fleming Doors, Fleming Steel and Fleming Coatings and their full range of products. So come surfing with me at FlemingLTD.com. Fleming, 91 48 234.
Are you planning a night out or an overdue catch-up with friends? Visit Sister Sarah's in Letterkenny for a top-class gastropub experience. Enjoy Grill Night Thursdays, Sarah's all-you-can-eat barbecue on Fridays, live sport, weekend music and private function rooms for your special occasions. Sister Sarah's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love from Wednesday through to Sunday.
That's the sound of someone sleeping soundly on a Restex mattress. Choose from the Donegal range. A Teelan, a Kinnigo, or a Mulroy mattress. It'll change the way you sleep forever. Restex Beds, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Leave the rest to us.
Get ready for the 55th Clonmany Agricultural Show at Pollen Green this Tuesday and Wednesday, August 6th and 7th. Experience action-packed fun for the whole family with thrilling livestock exhibitions, sheepdog trials and celebrity chef demos by Brian McDermott, Shane Smith and Nevin Maguire. Enjoy live music, jiving competitions, fashion shows and makeup demos by McElhinney's of Ballybuffet. Plus, don't miss the pet shows and much more. The Clonmany Agricultural Show this Tuesday and Wednesday.
All right, we were talking right at the start of the programme of water issues in and around Falcarra, and they've plagued that area for the weekend. What about 3.5 years in Bonamy? We are joined on the programme now by Geraldine. Hi, Geraldine. Hello? Geraldine, are you there? No, we'll reconnect Geraldine there. I'll leave that there in case you need that number. We were talking last week, wasn't it, about the rail plan, and obviously there was a warm welcome for it. A bit of, up this part of the world, a bit of a reservation as to whether it will actually be delivered, but that's okay, that happens. But apparently the government's plan to revitalise Ireland's rail network has almost no money, no capital spending allocated to it, senior cabinet figures have revealed. Last week, Transport Minister Eamon Ryan launched an ambitious plan to revive the network with a spend of $1.5 billion every year for the next 25 years. However, it appears the plan from the former Green Party leader is not on track, with senior cabinet sources saying there is hardly any capital spending allocated to the project. One minister said most of what he announced yesterday isn't funded anywhere. Some of it is, but most of it is not. They also pointed to the slowness of other capital transport projects coming through the planning system as another reason for why the All-Ireland Rail Review was very ambitious. From a planning perspective, the whole thing is so slow. What he's talking about doing at present isn't even doable within 5 years, said the minister. Now, I'm not sure if this affects Donegal. There was some money mentioned in it. But as it turns out, according to a minister who was speaking to this paper, or a cabinet figure speaking to this paper, whilst a spend of $1.5 billion every year for the next 25 years was mentioned, there is actually very little money there to progress it. Any surprises there? I don't know. Geraldine, sorry about that. I hope the line holds up for us. How are you keeping?
I am not too bad, Greg. How are you?
I'm okay. 3.5 years you've had problems with the water supply in Bomini. What's going on?
Yeah. Well, that's what we would love to know. We genuinely do not know. I was actually on to Councillor Donald Kelly several times, who is trying to fly the flag for us with this issue too. And he says he keeps hitting a brick wall with Uisce Éireann with all of his inquiries. In the last year and a half, it has been chronic. Our water supply has been regularly interrupted over the last 3 years. We're sort of on an elevated site here in Upper Bomini. My neighbours below me, even when the pressure is down, they have a bit of a supply. But myself and my other neighbour, we then absolutely have nothing. So if the pressure is turned down for any particular reason, we are left without water. And it takes so long for the pressure to build up again. We're now on day 7 out of 9 with no cold water, and there are 7 people living in this house.
So, like in terms of just the basics, water for drinking or washing or cleaning clothes.
Well, Greg, I've explained this to the Uisce Éireann people that we've logged over 50 calls. They were able to tell me that themselves. We were put through to the complaints department. Apparently our case was being escalated into the infrastructure section. I've heard nothing from anybody. You do get a token, maybe text or a letter to say they are looking into this. But this is ongoing for 3.5 years. I have repeatedly asked Uisce Éireann to please send me an engineer on site here to this area, to my house, to let us know what we need to do to help increase the water pressure. To date, nobody has arrived. The last rep I spoke to last week was able to tell me that I had requested that several times. He said, unfortunately, it has not been acted upon. I have no idea why that is. And every day, now again today, my daughter's prom is today. There are 7 of us in the house. We are now, I don't know how many containers of water we buy. Every day there's no water. You've got to buy about 4 to 5 big containers of water for drinking only. I'm in and out to the laundrettes and the laundromats in town. We are out a fortune. it is honestly at this point soul destroying, because we are not getting any answers. All I want is a representative from Uisce Éireann, an engineer, to come to our house and tell me what we need to do to help increase this water. I know it's supply and demand. I know from having spoken to several neighbours, if the town is supplied before us and the pressure drops for us, then those of us in elevated sites end up with nothing. And that can last for days.
But there has to be an engineering solution to that, surely. An interim pump.
But I know there is.
Or...
And in fact, in fairness to one particular rep I spoke to 2 days ago, he was able to tell me, yes, you've logged over 50 calls, you, your husband, your son. He said, look, this needs to be escalated. I said, I was told it was escalated 8 months ago. He said, no, unfortunately, it wasn't. I said, I mean, how many times do I have to request for an engineer? In order for that to become a reality, we are without water, a basic human right. And Uisce Éireann are culpable in this. We need water. I know that Donald Kelly asked that there would be an extra pump put at the borehole in Ballymacool to help increase pressure. Yeah. He said that hasn't happened to date, that it keeps falling on deaf ears. I know the infrastructure is being changed. You know, they're fixing pipes, or it was supposed to happen. I now have discovered that has been deferred again into the second quarter of this year, and still no progress. So how ongoing this will be, I don't know. But we can't keep going on like this. You get up in the morning and you think, oh my God, not again, no water. For flushing toilets, for showers, for anything.
Yeah, and you have to get water from somewhere.
It is really soul destroying.
For the reasons you've outlined.
I really want to.
Yeah, with 7 people in the house. With 7 people in the house, for the reasons you've outlined, you actually have to have a water supply. You know, we all
have
maybe
to have water. Yeah. And I mean, this is day 7 out of 9. Not even a trickle out of the cold tap in the kitchen. I could cry today. My daughters, I really could. I'm so frustrated. And I really, really want an Uisce Éireann engineer on the line. Like, I really intend, I think we need to pursue it further, those of us who are affected. Because the culpability really does lie with somebody. It's not me. I bought this house, we built this house in good faith. We never thought we'd have this issue. We never had this issue up until about 3.5 years ago.
I wonder what our legal rights are, because, you know, there are development charges you have to pay. Water is paid. We do pay for water.
We do.
People think we don't pay for water. We actually do. It's a basic human right for survival. I mean, what are the legal consequences here for Uisce Éireann? Are there any? Should there be some? I don't know.
Well, I would love to know if there's any legal representative out there.
Yeah.
Where do I stand legally? Because to me, it is an infringement on a basic human right.
And also, how entitled are you to that service, in that if the service isn't there and you have to spend a lot of money on you know, going to a laundrette or purchasing water, is there any compensation?
In and out. Yeah, I'm in and out constantly buying water, constantly getting laundry done, begging my sister to do a loads for me. I mean, it's just, I shouldn't have to in my own home. Shouldn't have to.
I mean, listen, and also to the prom's a special day for the daughter and for mum as well.
Oh my God, I couldn't believe it when we had no water again today.
You don't really have the ability to.
And my neighbour, who's kind of 2 below me, she's down to a trickle too. I mean, it's really soul destroying. And I never get an answer. That's the infuriating thing. You know, you're told, we're looking into it. You get a letter to say they're looking into the issue. That's no good to me anymore.
No, it feels like gaslighting, fact, really. When, you know, when you're told it's been elevated, right, and you're sitting there going, right, okay, everyone, it's been elevated, and then you have a phone call some distance down the line, and that person goes, my word, this needs to be elevated. It feels like gaslight. I don't really like the word gaslighting. It
Absolutely.
Could be overused, but it's, you know, you were sitting there being told something had happened when it hadn't happened, really.
Yeah, and in fairness to this rep, he did say to me very clearly, I really apologise. This has not been referred to any infrastructure department. So basically we're taking calls, giving you a reference number and doing nothing about it. And 2 days ago I rang. The first time, mid-conversation, the line, suddenly there was nobody. So I rang directly back. I got another guy. I said, look, I think I've been cut off here. He went through the whole gamut again, which is soul destroying because you're repeating yourself every time. And he said, yes, I see, I have the records here. We log all your calls for, recording their customer service purposes. So they have all our calls, all the details. He was able to tell me all of the times. And he said, I'll just put you through. Yeah, I think you need to be put through to whatever particular department. Almost 12 minutes I sat on hold. And in the end, one of the wee twins started to cry, so I had to hang up. Really? That's a service?
But we have no alternative. They're the only show in town.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
You have to
I
wonder
know.
where the accountability is you've mentioned you've got a counsellor working on your behalf as well, so
Yeah.
they're making representations. You've logged 50 complaints.
Yeah.
You've got letters,
And,
you've got
and
texts.
by the way,
but
the
where's the
councillor said it's falling on deaf ears.
Yeah, but
He
where's
said,
the...
I am hitting a brick wall.
But that's the problem, you see. So where do you go from here? You hope to maybe go in public to embarrass Irish Water into doing something.
Yeah.
But is it a case that there's a couple up the hill? We'll just crack
I
on
think
with other
somebody
stuff?
needs to actually go down a legal route with this, because to me it is a legal issue. It really is at this point.
It's also a welfare
But I would
issue.
need really good... Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what to say other than that, Geraldine. Listen, we will, with your permission, put a specific press inquiry to Irish Water to see what they have to say. I mean, there are engineering solutions. We know that.
Absolutely.
The interim pump makes the most sense. I mean, that's to get it up the hill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And that's all I request. That is all I have been requesting. Please send me out an engineer. Tell us what we need to do. And that has not happened. Actually, the guy I was speaking to, who was really good now, about 4 days ago, he was very thorough. And he said, I see that some of your complaints were then forwarded to the engineer at local level. He said, that is futile.
Oh.
That's futile.
Okay.
He told me that himself. He said, there is no point in that. He said, this needs to be escalated into the Uisce Éireann infrastructure section.
Have you
Those
had
were his words.
anyone on site in 3.5 years?
I haven't seen anyone. I mean, if there were, they didn't make themselves apparent to me at my door.
Wow.
And they have my air code and they know my address.
Quite a service. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Geraldine, leave it with us. Did your daughter have her prom, or is it today?
It's today.
Okay, well, wish her
So I am
the
now
very
going
best.
to get her hair done because we have no water.
I
I'd need to go. All right, Greg, I really appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye. Geraldine, obviously a lot going on there. Up to high dough, getting her daughter ready for that and everything. I get you. Right. Now, we've had quite a few nice messages in of the kindness or good service. We've just talked about what appears to be a terrible service. But we're going to read now a good experience for someone. And we like this too, by the way. This caller says, I had a toothache on Friday evening. I waited until Saturday to be seen, as I had taken pain relief and hoped I'd managed. The pain, though, was excruciating. I phoned NowDoc, and the nurse was incredible. She was beyond helpful. NowDoc are 24-hour. An emergency dentist is very hard to get in Donegal. There is nothing. I called into NowDoc in Letterkenny, and they sorted me out. The nurse was outstanding. The NowDoc staff are amazing. It is a phenomenal service. Everyone there was so helpful. Nice. Happy to pass that on. A kind lady has offered to help Geraldine do the washing to take the pressure off. Okay, we'll pass that on to Geraldine if that suits Geraldine. Maybe it will, obviously, in terms of locality and what have you. So another lady, wow, this is one of those days, isn't it? Acts of kindness. A kind lady has offered to help Geraldine do the washing to take the pressure off. That's the household washing. Can you imagine 7 people in a house? All needing to be fed, all needing to wash, all needing to use the bathroom for various reasons, and having no water for 7 days and a supply that's up and down like a fiddler's elbow for 3.5 years. Very, very frustrating. And because you're one of a smaller group of people affected, it's bound to feel very, very frustrating, and you feel very isolated. Okay, we're going to be talking about e-scooters to Kevin after these messages.
Would you like to work in Ballyshannon Community Hospital? The HSE in Donegal have a number of exciting job opportunities that they are now looking to fill in Ballyshannon Community Hospital. In particular, multitask assistants and healthcare assistants. These positions are permanent and full-time. Why not make your next career move with us? For further information on any position, please contact the HR department by emailing recruitdonegal@hse.ie or by calling 074 9191 715. You can also check out our socials by visiting Community Healthcare CDLMS on Facebook.
An bhfuil tú a dahónaí in anál, an bhfuil tú géirí uasálann eil gan an banca bhrisú, Tá Big Red Cloud a báirt le KW agus bórdaide hais agus áilína win anál ag cur sraid cléir áilína a leor chamad agus péróla sír náisce sé sír náisce ar foiil. Tá ga cursa ar foiil ar líne le schedule fólama sa lupa ag amana a tá fórsna ditse. Cur an Big Red Cloud ar chumas fólamóí ná bhfuil éon álas acu ribh seo uasálann eil I béróla agus contais. Cláirí inniu ag bigredcloud.com/antásaí training. Sír náisce, jefnithe agus janta ar de luas féin. A thuair tugat ag ETB win anál.
PDO thread lifts and skin boosters, which rejuvenate the skin by improving facial contours, lifting and tightening the jowls, neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. To choose the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat-dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. 07495 325 75.
Join me, Marty Friel, this and every Friday night from 8 for Rockin' Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7 Letterkenny. If you're celebrating a birthday or a work night out, Arena 7 Entertainment Complex has it all. Check out arena7.ie.
Tonight at the 55th Clonmany Festival from 7, there's David James. From 9, it's Mike Denver. Tomorrow, Wednesday, don't miss Derek Ryan. Log on to clonmanyfestival.com for a full programme of events.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenney's. Support a local Donegal business with McElhenney's. From fashion to home essentials, find everything you need for any occasion. Shop McElhenney's Ballybuffet for quality you can trust.
So cloudy this morning with scattered showers drifting across the region. As this day wears on, though, those showers will become more isolated with longer spells of sunshine following breezy. With temperatures 15 to 17 degrees. Now, as we know, since the scooter regulations have come in, they've been in quite some time. I've only actually seen one scooter on the road. Every other scooter I've seen has been on the footpath. And I've also mentioned that, to be honest with you, even when they're on the road, they look really, really vulnerable, such a small little footprint. And no reflective gear, poor lighting and all that kind of stuff. Kevin is speaking about scooters more generally too. Good morning to you, Kevin. Thanks for your time.
Morning, Greg.
Right, so from
Greg.
now on, scooters, e-scooters, push bikes, they're, bikes always were the case. They're not supposed to be on the footpath at all.
No, definitely not. Now, I have witnessed an incident on last Thursday at the courthouse traffic lights. I was coming up from the Port Road, and there was a shop owner. I'm not going to name him. He knows who he is, and if he wants to come on himself, he can do. He had stopped a guy on one of the bigger type e-scooters
right,
coming down the footpath in the front of his premises, and was telling him that he's not allowed on the footpath. He explained to him, you have no insurance if you hit somebody that's going to fall on you. And the guy that was on the e-scooter, he was adamant that he was safer on the footpath than he would be on the road.
Well, that's all right for him, but...
Yeah, exactly. So I thought, well, fair play to that shop owner, and it's a clap on the back he wants. He was protecting his customers, because you come down that footpath from the high road, it's a sharp bend, and his shop is one of the first shops you meet. And you're coming down there, they're flying. Look, Greg, somebody's going to be actually killed. Now, what I would like to see is Garda patrols on the street and do away with the bikes and the e-scooters coming up the street the wrong way on the footpath.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this guy was going down the Port Road on the footpath because he couldn't go down the road on the footpath because he'd be going against the traffic of the one-way system.
I see.
And this is what they're doing.
Yeah.
I seen a woman on an e-scooter down Devlin Hall when I went further on down the road, and her coming on her mobile phone on the e-scooter and her flying on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's going to have to be a blitz done, because what is actually happening is they know they can get away with it because there's nothing stopping them.
But also,
they can do whatever they want.
Kevin, in fairness to the scooter rider, his defence was ignorance. He said that he had to use it on the footpath. So there certainly needs to be a bit of on-the-ground education as well, because that person was dead wrong. E-scooters are not allowed on footpaths, same as bikes are not allowed on footpaths. They can only use cycle lanes and bus lanes. They're not allowed in pedestrianised zones either. So they should be on the road. Now, we as motorists don't love doing laps of Letterkenny either. It'd be, pick your scooter up and walk up the hill if you want to, or walk against the traffic, but you're not allowed to cycle or scoot against on the footpath at all. And clearly you can't do it on the road either. Yeah, I saw a guard out on a push bike there. Was it Friday, Thursday, Wednesday maybe? So there are obviously guards around Letterkenny on push bikes doing some sort of, policing work.
Must have been a good day.
Well, I'm not going to get involved.
Well,
you can
look,
Kevin. It's your view, and you're entitled to it. No, but
I'm only speaking the truth.
It was a good day, and he was in short sleeves. But be that as it may,
yes.
If one was on the main street, maybe educating people, saying, look, I see them going down the mountain top and the footpaths up and down and in and out.
I see that as well.
I've spotted one on the road since this legislation came into effect in May.
You and me both. It must be the same fella.
Yes.
You and me both. Look, there's only one way to educate people, and that's pocket. Hit them in the pocket with a fine, and that'll stop them.
Because also, too, I think it was in Lower Main Street that a lady stepped out of I think it was a hairdressing
hairdressers, yes,
and was clipped by
a 14-year-old boy.
But he should also not be on a scooter. You have to be 16 or over. So, in other words, and also down the country, we're hearing of fatalities. An older lady was that case, and then there was an older lady hit by a scooter on a footpath as well. So it's serious business, Kevin, isn't it? And enforcement is what's required.
It has to be enforced. They're getting away with it, and as long as they get away with it, they'll continue doing it. And as for the push bikes as well, I remember if I was on the footpath as a young fella and me with the bike, I got a clip in the ear of the guard going past and down my nutty. You didn't go on the footpath again, But I know them days are gone, but that's what happened back in the day. But today, it's got, if they're doing 20 miles an hour, 20 kilometres an hour coming up the footpath, which a lot of them be doing, somebody's going to get killed.
Well, you can't hear
or somebody's going to.
You can't hear them.
No, and somebody's going to be mean for life.
Yeah, well, we don't want that, and that's why you're speaking, and I think it's important. And look, the bottom line is now, there's a big green light for scooters. You can use them, but you have to use them on the road or in the cycle lanes. And you can, if you're over 16 now, I mean, it wasn't like that when I was a younger person, Kevin. If I was told I could ride a e-scooter at 20 kilometers per hour on the road, I would have gone, wow, this is amazing. Instead, it was like on back roads with a push bike where you push the engine down onto the front wheel. That was as exciting as it got. All right, Kevin, listen, thanks for your time. Hopefully, I just don't want us to be in a situation where there's the I told you so, that something happens and people didn't heed the obvious advice.
I don't want to come on here and say, Greg, I told you so.
Exactly.
So,
all right.
Yes, have a good one.
You too, Kev. Take care of yourself. That's Kevin there. If you want to talk about that, we can pick that up again tomorrow. 086 60 25,000. That WhatsApp and text line available for you. If you're listening on the podcast, feel free to email us as well. Comments at highlandradio.com, and that applies to you guys listening overnight. We don't forget about you. We really appreciate your listening and support as well. Right, that is where we have to leave it on a busy and fast Tuesday morning after the long weekend. Thank you very much to Donna Marie Doherty, who researched and produced the show, ably assisted by Shannon Wilkins. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 9. John Bresson's next around.